A desperate cry echoes through the crimson haze. His only thought is to escape this deadly maze, but his body betrays him, collapsing under the strain. This is Takemichi Yoshido, a low-tier challenger, and his time has just run out. An elite demon descends, a vision of pure dread. Faced with such power, Yoshito feels utterly pathetic. He's tired of being tormented, of being looked down on. He screams at the world, demanding to know if it's satisfied. But in that rage, a new fire is lit. He will fight, even if he has to do it all alone. The demon rises, ready to end this little show. With no other choice, our boy charges forward. He swings his blade with everything he has left. But the demon's strike is impossibly fast. The impact sends a shockwave of pain through him. It gathers a terrifying energy in its palm and unleashes a devastating blast point blank. The very ground shatters from the force of the attack. Yoshido plummets into the darkness below. His hand stretches out towards his executioner. The demon seems to see a future he won't have. His journey is over before it even began, until a hand suddenly stops his fall. Oh wait, that's not a rescue at all. A system message confirms the inevitable outcome. Welcome, it seems, to the Magic Tower, a mysterious structure that defies all understanding. These towers have appeared all across the globe. Inside is a world of swords, magic, and skills, a world teeming with terrifying monsters, but also filled with priceless treasures and magic stones. Those who brave its dangers are known as challengers. However, this adventure comes with the ultimate risk. Because death inside the tower means death in reality, Yoshido's consciousness slowly returns to him. His eyes snap open, reflecting a familiar purple glow. He realizes with a sinking heart that he's died again. This is becoming a rather unfortunate habit. He sits alone in the void, a place he knows too well, all because he possesses a unique skill, infinite revival, an ability that brings him back from the brink of death. He grits his teeth, cursing this twisted fate. His mind flashes back to a simpler, sadder time. After high school, he was stuck in a dead-end loop, working part-time jobs with no real future in sight, until the day the Magic Tower appeared. He thought becoming a challenger would change everything. But the competition for resources was a brutal struggle. He needed an edge, a rare skill no one else had. Skill stones, the key to unlocking hidden potential. The one selling infinite revival was a shady merchant. Yoshido bet his entire life savings, and then some. A system message confirms the skill has been activated. But there's a catch, a terrible death penalty. With every revival, his abilities are permanently reduced. He keeps a grim tally of his 4 deaths so far. The first time, a goblin took him out, costing him his defense, which explains why that demon's attack was so devastating. Each death brings a new random penalty to his stats. Inside the tower, your stats define your very body. He's trapped by the debt he took on for this power, and stuck with a skill that only brings him pain. But the system doesn't care about his feelings. This endless cycle is starting to wear him down. Light floods his vision as he's pulled back once more. He's collecting near-death experiences like trading cards. His body feels sluggish, the price of his last failure. But he's not where he expected to be. This strange silent hall isn't on any known map. His gaze is drawn towards a distant structure, and what he sees there makes his heart stop. A golden skill stone, an item of legendary rarity. This could be the answer to all his problems. He clenches his fist, his resolve hardening into steel. The room is quiet, almost suspiciously so. But his first step is his last. He's walked right into an instant death trap. Blades erupt from the walls with blinding speed, and Yoshito is overwhelmed in a heartbeat. The system calmly announces his demise and revival. This time, his strength takes a devastating hit. He gasps for air, the phantom pain still fresh. This place is designed for one thing: instant death. The light shines down, mocking his struggle, but he forces himself up, ready to face it again. This time, however, the trap has changed. A stone guardian's eyes flare with deadly intent. It unleashes a torrent of destructive energy. Well, that was a short-lived comeback. The system confirms his revival, along with another penalty. His HP takes a massive hit, leaving him even more fragile. But through the pain, Yoshito finally understands. This entire hall is a death trap for the greedy. A gauntlet designed to be impossible to cross. Under normal circumstances, no one could survive this. But Yoshido's circumstances are anything but normal. He may be the weakest challenger in the tower, but his greatest weakness is also his greatest strength. He has more lives than a video game protagonist, and so begins the most brutal grind of his life. He dies to a spinning blade, then a crushing wall. His MP and technique stats are shredded away. Again and again, he throws himself at the traps. He's electrocuted, burned, and completely overwhelmed. His vitality and resistance plummet with each revival. He's impaled by spikes that erupt from the floor. His intelligence drops, his mind growing foggy. But with his last ounce of will, he reaches out. His fingers close around the golden skill stone. He has won, but at a terrible, terrible cost. The system asks if he wants to use his prize. Seeing he's a bit preoccupied, the system takes the initiative. A new skill is granted to him, inversion. Yoshito's eyes snap open, feeling a strange shift. The crushing weight of the death penalties has vanished. He immediately pulls up his status window, and what he sees there is simply impossible. All the negative effects he's suffered until now have been inverted into massive positive buffs. The system processes the change, his stats flickering before his eyes. A message confirms he has acquired a brand new skill. It's called inversion, and its effect is beautifully simple. The implications of this power hit Yoshito like a lightning bolt. All the crippling debuffs he's suffered from his many deaths. He looks over at the source of this miracle. The golden skill stone has been reduced to mere dust. It seems the system used it for him automatically. He mourns the loss of a legendary item he never even got to sell. But then, a far more profound thought takes hold. With this power, every death will now make him stronger. He clenches his fist, feeling a surge of real power for the first time. His path is now clear. He will become the strongest of them all. But first, he has to get out of this room. He turns his attention back to the deadly hallway. It's the only path forward, the only way to escape. He sees the traps have reset, waiting for their next victim. Does this mean he has to die all over again to get through? The very thought fills him with absolute dread. He remembers the searing pain of every single death. Getting revived doesn't exactly make the experience pleasant. He knows that enduring this again and again could break his mind. The fear of that agony is almost paralyzing. He grips his sleeve, steeling himself against the terror. But then he remembers the change. Thanks to inversion, his stats are now double what they once were. A new reckless idea begins to form in his mind. He plants his foot ready to test this theory. There's only one way to find out if it will work. With newfound resolve, he charges straight into the gauntlet. The first trap activates, a hail of deadly arrows. But this time, Yoshito moves with impossible speed. His senses are heightened, his perception razor sharp. He weaves through the lethal grid without a single scratch. Spears erupt from the floor, but he's already past them. He realizes with a jolt that he can see every single attack. The next trap unleashes a storm of crackling energy. He pushes his body even further, demanding more speed. He becomes a blur, a phantom dancing through destruction. The end of the hall is in sight, but the traps aren't done. He berates himself for being too slow, even at this pace. He slides under one attack, already preparing for the next. A massive beam of energy descends from the ceiling. And the Stone Guardian is back for round 2. Guess it didn't learn its lesson. But Yoshito has a new trick up his sleeve. He activates a skill card he's been holding on to. His eyes are filled with a cold, calculating confidence. He unleashes a counterattack of his own. The path forward finally begins to open. The mechanisms of the death room grind to a halt. The Guardian's eye flickers and dies out. He effortlessly dispatches the final few obstacles. A small smile plays on his lips. He stands victorious, his theory now proven. The system confirms it. Every death penalty is now a massive buff. With this power, he can truly become the strongest. He finds himself at the bottom of a massive chasm. He knows his old self would have been trapped here forever. But things are very, very different now. With a single leap, he rockets towards the top. He lands gracefully back on the platform, right where his last life came to a violent end. He's returned to face the demon that killed him. He offers a casual apology for making it wait. The demon lunges, but Yoshito easily evades. The creature pauses, sensing this is not the same weakling. Yoshito extends a chilling invitation for a second round. The demon roars, its pride clearly wounded. It seems more than happy to accept his challenge. But our boy has a simple question. One life versus infinite. He charges forward, a blur of newfound confidence. The two clash, and this time the ground doesn't shatter under him. His blade moves with impossible speed and precision. He can't help but marvel at his own stat boost. He's no longer just surviving, he's dominating the fight. He calmly informs the beast that its attacks are no longer a threat. The fear in his eyes has been replaced with cold, hard steel. The demon is enraged by this sudden defiance. Yoshito unleashes a powerful finishing blow. He declares his victory as the demon is engulfed in energy. But the resulting explosion is far bigger than he expected. A blinding flash of light consumes the entire area. The dust and smoke slowly begin to clear, and from the wreckage, a smaller form emerges. The demon is still standing, and it looks absolutely furious. Yoshito barely dodges a lightning-fast counterattack. Okay, maybe he celebrated a little too early. A troubling thought begins to form in his mind. The system states that monster difficulty scales with the floor, and on the third floor, a beast this strong shouldn't exist. The demon's speed is now on a completely different level. It moves like a shadow, a blur of purple energy. Yoshido realizes his stats have increased significantly. But even with his new power, he's still on the defensive. This creature is far stronger than any third-floor boss should be. He pushes back, matching the demon's impossible ferocity. Their clash sends another shockwave across the platform. He demands to know the true nature of his opponent. The demon offers no answer, only silent, glowing fury. Well, he didn't really expect a conversation anyway. The creature begins to gather an immense amount of energy. He notes with a smirk that it's finally getting serious. A sphere of destructive power forms in its palms, and it seems very, very happy to unleash it. It transforms again, taking on an even more menacing form. Yoshito welcomes the challenge with a confident grin. The demon unleashes a barrage of deadly energy blades. The air itself seems to tear apart from the assault, but this time his speed isn't enough to dodge. He's sent flying, his body riddled with wounds. The demon presses its advantage with a focused blast. The attack connects, creating a massive explosion. He struggles to endure the overwhelming power, but his body is reaching its absolute limit. In a last-ditch effort, he tries to block it head-on. It's a futile gesture against such raw destruction, and with a final searing pain, his life ends again. Welcome back to the Void, population, Yoshito. The system confirms the inversion, turning loss into gain. The demon turns away, assuming its foe is finally gone for good. But the demon celebrated its victory a little too soon. Yoshito returns with a vengeance, his blade crashing down. He meets the creature's gaze, his own rage burning bright. He knows that even with infinite revivals, the pain of each death is still very, very real. But he channels that agony into pure, focused power. He moves with a speed the demon can no longer comprehend. His attack tears through the creature's shadowy form. The demon begins to break apart under the relentless assault. Turns out being this overpowered is a brand new feeling. The beast is utterly consumed by his newfound strength. Its silhouette finally begins to fade into nothingness. The system reminds him of the price he just paid for this power, and confirms the glorious inversion that followed. His agility has now reached a completely different level, a power he's more than ready to put to good use. He stands over the dissipating remains of his foe. He offers a moment of respect for a worthy opponent, but his eyes flare, signaling the fight isn't quite over. He lunges forward for the final decisive strike. The demon rises one last time to meet his charge. Their final clash is a blinding explosion of light. The impact sends their silhouettes flying apart. In the quiet aftermath, only one of them is left standing. The demon's eye fades as its body turns to dust. Yoshido declares that this is finally the end. The demon's final thoughts echo, a taunt about his limited life. But Yoshido's gaze is now filled with an unshakable will. He offers a small, almost weary smile. A strange final thought, hoping they might meet again someday. He promises that when the time comes, they will have a truly fair fight. A promise made with a newfound chilling confidence. And then the adrenaline wears off and he promptly collapses. He complains about dying twice, even with his new power. But his victory celebration is cut short by a strange sound. His trusty starter sword finally gives up the ghost. It seems his new strength was a bit too much for his old gear. Time to go shopping, which means it's time to farm for cash. He gathers the magic stones left behind by the monsters. These glowing crystals are the currency of the tower. He makes his way to the first floor's designated safe area, a special zone where monsters are conveniently not invited. It's a place for challengers to rest and socialize, a brief moment of peace in a world of constant danger. Here, items dropped by monsters or found in chests can be traded, and the local merchants are always ready to make a deal. Yoshido proudly shows off his brand new silver sword. Of course, quality gear costs a pretty penny, but he shakes off the buyer's remorse, his eyes on the future. He tells himself it's just a necessary investment. But as he looks around, he notices some familiar whispers. Other challengers are gossiping about the fool who bought a useless skill. He realizes they're talking about him, the pitiful challenger. You'd think someone could have given him a heads up, but what they see as a trash skill is his greatest treasure. For him, infinite revival and inversion create a god-tier combo, a power that only he, in his unique situation, can master. He can't help but feel a little smug about his secret weapon, but a sudden jarring thought shatters his moment of triumph. He overhears a conversation that makes him pause. A group of challengers are boasting about taking on the 5th floor mid-boss. Their leader is a dominator, a title for those who clear a tower's final boss. Defeating the final boss makes the entire tower disappear from the world, and it grants the victor powerful, one-of-a-kind equipment. Dominators are usually respected, but this guy, Noihi, seems a bit extra. In fact, a fiery blonde challenger calls him out as a fake dominator. This sudden confrontation catches everyone completely off guard. She claims he only got the title by clearing an easy, low-tier tower. Her friend Yuri tries to calm her down, but Mana is having none of it. She argues that Noihi is trying to steal the rewards they found first. Yuri is more cautious, suggesting they let the stronger party handle the risks. But Mana's pride won't let her back down so easily. Noihi smugly declares the matter settled in his favor. He tells the girls to stand aside and watch a real pro work. He flaunts his unique gear, a shield with a very confident marketing pitch. His arrogance is practically a physical force in the room. But then his smug expression falters as he recognizes someone. His attention turns to Yoshito, his smile turning cruel. He loudly mocks our boy for buying that infamous, useless skill. He calls Yoshito pathetic, a fool who was easily tricked. Yoshito takes the insults without a word, his face a neutral mask, until a small, knowing smile touches his lips. He turns to the girls and calmly suggests they let Noihi have the boss. Mana is furious, feeling betrayed by his apparent cowardice. But Yoshito isn't finished speaking just yet. He declares that after Noihi is done, the three of them will clear the final boss. And they'll do it with a speed Noihi's party can't even imagine. The bully's face twists into a mask of pure rage. He lunges forward with a furious cry, but Yoshito remains perfectly calm. Noihi screams that he's the victim here, but his wild swing meets nothing but air. A simple, well-placed foot is all it takes. The Dominator can't even process what just happened. He lands hard, defeated by a single, casual move. His lackeys rush to his side, completely bewildered. For the first time, Noihi looks genuinely afraid. Yoshito asks if he plans on staying down there all day. Mana chimes in, eager to see this so-called pro in action. Yoshito's plan seems to be falling right into place. He turns to the group, ready to head out. They all proceed to the 4th floor of the Hermes Tower. A voice calls out his name from behind. It's Yuri, expressing her concern about the dangers ahead. But Yoshito waves it off with a confident smile. He reflects on his new companions, Mana and Yuri. They're higher level, but that doesn't tell the whole story, because his stats have grown far beyond what his level suggests. He knows that in a real fight he can crush them all. Noihi's party stops them, their leader's ego clearly bruised. He offers them a deal. They can watch, but stay out of the way. The others mistake his quiet confidence for fear. Suddenly, the air grows heavy with killing intent. A lizard man ambushes the group, targeting Noihi first. He barely manages to block the strike with his prized shield. With a roar, he shoves the creature back. But the monster is nimble, quickly regaining its footing. The system identifies the foe, a standard lizard man. It lets out a guttural cry, ready for another round. Noihi's teammate scoffs, thinking this will be an easy fight. But Yoshito senses that something is terribly wrong. His instincts scream that this is more than a simple encounter. The surrounding darkness is filled with countless unseen threats. In an instant, they're completely surrounded. Noihi's confidence evaporates, replaced by pure panic. And from the shadows, a new leader emerges, a lizard commander, and it seems to have brought the whole family. The system confirms it, a superior species that commands the swarm. With a single guttural cry, it orders the attack. The horde descends upon Yoshito and the girls from all sides, but our boy's expression is one of grim focus. Mana, on the other hand, looks absolutely thrilled by the chaos. She powers up, declaring that she'll protect Yoshito. Yuri agrees, and the two of them form a defensive line. Yoshito is stunned, insisting he can fight for himself. But Mana grits her teeth, determined to shield him. She stands firm, refusing to let him face the danger. He can only watch, a bead of sweat on his brow. She tells him these monsters are completely out of his league. The words sting, a painful reminder of his old reputation. He looks over at Yuri, hoping for a different answer. But she agrees, pleading with him to fall back. Mana refuses to budge, cutting a path through the swarm. Yuri unleashes her own magic, joining the desperate fight. Even Noihi's party is forced to engage the overwhelming numbers. Yoshito calls out, feeling utterly sidelined by his new allies. His hand trembles, not with fear, but with frustration. He lowers his arm, a sense of resignation washing over him. He stands alone as they all fight to protect him. In their eyes, he's still just a liability. He can't stand this feeling of being utterly useless. Meanwhile, Noihi's party is learning a hard lesson in humility. The so-called pros are getting completely overwhelmed. One of his lackeys is sent flying by a single, brutal strike. He hits the ground hard, his confidence shattered. Even the dominator Noihi is frozen in fear, and in a moment of pure cowardice, he decides to run for it. But Yoshito realizes this was the plan all along. The floor beneath him suddenly gives way, He's plunged into the darkness below. Mana and Yuri can only cry out his name in horror. He wonders why he was the one targeted by the trap. The Hermes Tower, after all, is infamous for its deadly surprises, and our boy is falling right into another one. But the fear in his eyes has been replaced by pure fury. He declares that a simple pitfall won't stop him now. He braces for impact as the ground rushes up to meet him. But the trap has one more nasty surprise in store. He lands gracefully, completely unscathed by the fall. He takes a breath, assessing his new surroundings. It seems he's landed right in the lizard men's den, and their commanders are here to welcome him personally. A dark smile spreads across his face. There's no escape. He's had enough of being underestimated. A menacing aura erupts as he draws his new blade. He tells the horde that their numbers mean nothing to him. This is just a perfect chance to test out his new sword. He issues a final chilling warning to his foes. And with a single slash, he tears through their ranks. His eyes glow with rage as he unleashes his full power. He recognizes them as a higher-ranking species, foes that would have been impossible for him to face before. But Yoshito is a completely different person now. The lizard man lunges, its eyes burning with fury. But its strike is met with the cold steel of his new sword. Yoshito's own eyes glow with a terrifying resolve. He knows that this time he can finally win. The rest of the horde descends, a flurry of claws and blades. He calmly asks what seems to be the problem. A single red eye glares out from the shadows. He correctly deduces this was all an elaborate trap for him. With a manic grin, he invites them to come and get him. The monsters roar, enraged by his sheer audacity. He becomes a whirlwind of destruction, cutting through the swarm. He feels a surge of power, knowing he can take them all on. He is no longer the weakling who needed saving. He is no longer the one who has to be protected. The tables have turned, and now the monsters are terrified. He taunts them, asking if they're afraid of death. He tells them he understands the feeling all too well. And with that shared experience, he ends another's life. The last commander can only shiver in absolute terror. With the nest cleared, a large gate stands before him. He figures this must be the way back to the upper floor. The heavy stone doors slide shut behind him. He emerges from the passage, right back where he fell. He sighs, exhausted from the ordeal, and sees his party. Yuri rushes to his side, calling out his name in relief. She immediately checks him over for any injuries. A gentle smile spreads across her face, glad he's unharmed. Yuri explains she wanted to help, but couldn't find a way down. Mana is stunned, asking if he managed to avoid the monsters. Yoshito's eyes narrow, deciding how much he should tell them. He plays it off with a sly smile and a simple, nope. The scene flashes to a mountain of defeated lizards. Yeah, no issues at all. He quickly changes the subject, asking about Noihi's party. Mana fumes, explaining the coward left him for dead and ran for the boss. Yoshito just shrugs, telling her that's exactly the kind of guy Noihi is. He turns his attention to his other, more concerned companion. With a gentle smile, he thanks Yuri for worrying about him. The girls are taken aback by his calm and collected demeanor. But their reunion is cut short by a lone lizard man survivor. It leaps from the shadows, its blade aimed directly at Yuri. Yoshito cries out her name, his protective instincts flaring. Yuri freezes, completely vulnerable to the surprise attack. But Yoshito moves like a phantom, a blur of red and black. He slams into the ground, positioning himself as a human shield. Mana can only stare in disbelief at his impossible speed. His new sword effortlessly blocks the monster's killing blow. But Mana still sees a weakling jumping in to save the day. She unleashes a powerful strike of her own, finishing the creature. She lets out a breath, admitting that was a close call. She lands gracefully, while Yoshito stands over the fallen foe. He examines his glowing sword, still processing his own power. Yuri stammers, her heart still pounding from the near miss. She offers a heartfelt thank you for saving her life. Yoshito just scratches his cheek, glad he was fast enough. Mana, meanwhile, seems to be taking all the credit for the kill. She turns to him, demanding to know how he reacted so quickly. He gives a confident smirk, ready to finally prove his worth. He declares to them both that he is no longer just dead weight. The trio proceeds to the 5th floor of the Hermes Tower. He walks ahead, leaving the girls to wonder about his sudden change. He takes a moment to check his system log. Defeating the lizard commanders has boosted him 2 levels at once. He realizes that stat gains from leveling up aren't affected by inversion, but he also notices something else about the numbers. While the girls are distracted, he's having a minor existential crisis. The stats from his inverted death penalties are massive, but the gains from leveling up are laughably small in comparison. A slow, wicked smile spreads across his face. He now understands just how broken his power truly is. Yuri's voice snaps him out of his power-hungry reverie. They've arrived at the room of the 5th floor mid-boss. Mana explains that the Hermes Tower is expected to have 10 floors. She and Yuri were the first to discover this midpoint boss room. But when they went to prepare, Noihi's party ambushed them. The memory alone is enough to make her absolutely furious. Yuri calmly pets her head, treating her like an angry puppy. Yoshito peeks into the chamber, confirming Noihi is just ahead. He warns the girls that a mid-boss is not to be taken lightly. A bead of sweat rolls down his face. This is no time for games. He takes a single, determined step forward and enters the boss chamber without a moment's hesitation. He finds one of Noihi's lackeys already defeated on the ground. The sight of the carnage gives him pause. A powerful attack suddenly flashes across the room. The fallen challenger cries out, about to be finished off. But Yoshito moves in a blur, pulling the man to safety. Noihi turns, shocked to see the kid he left for dead is still alive. Noihi tells Yoshito to get a good look at the real threat. The mid-boss of the 5th floor reveals itself. The system identifies the creature as a fearsome orc lord. It charges forward, its massive axe cleaving the air. Yoshito cries out, genuinely concerned for the arrogant challenger. But Noihi scoffs, telling him to save his pity. He meets the orc lord's strike head-on with his shield. He grunts, bracing against the overwhelming force. But his special shield, Aegis Mimesis, holds strong. He claims the lizard men earlier were just a fluke. In a one-on-one fight, he has no intention of losing. He tells Yoshito to watch closely and learn a thing or two. He's about to demonstrate the vast gap between their power levels. The orc lord roars, wreathed in a menacing purple aura. Back with the others, Yuri checks on Noihi's fallen teammate. The lackey is still in awe of his leader's supposed strength. Yoshito watches the battle, a single bead of sweat on his face. Noihi's taunts echo in his mind, a promise of a one-sided fight. The orc lord's eyes flare with a terrifying red light. It brings its axe down in a devastating overhead smash. The impact shatters the stone floor of the chamber, and Noihi is sent flying, his defense completely broken. So much for that unbeatable speech. The orc lord unleashes a relentless barrage of strikes. The entire room is engulfed in a storm of destructive energy. The beast's eyes glow with absolute power. It seems to be demonstrating the true power of a mid-boss. Noihi is stunned, unable to believe this level of strength. But his fear quickly morphs into a familiar, greedy grin. Yoshito watches from the sidelines, recognizing the shield's origin. He realizes this is the true power of unique equipment. Noihi's own stats are mediocre, but the shield makes him a wall. The orc lord roars, preparing another furious assault. But Noihi's confidence hasn't wavered in the slightest. He even has the nerve to call the monster's attack simple. He weathers another blow, holding his ground against the beast. With the boss distracted, he signals his team to move in. They swarm the orc lord, attacking from all sides. The creature grunts, feeling the pressure of the coordinated assault. It stomps the ground, trying to create an opening. Noihi is launched into the air, but this seems to be part of his plan. He declares the monster made a fatal mistake, and brings his shield down in a devastating counterattack. The orc lord can only stare in disbelief as the blow connects. The massive beast crashes to the floor, defeated. Noihi turns to Yoshito, his face a mask of smug satisfaction. He boasts that this is the power of a true challenger. Yoshito offers a small, unreadable smile in return. He calmly admits he now understands the value of such gear. Noihi fumes, clearly not getting the reaction he wanted. He laughs, telling them to be grateful to the great Noihi-sama. He then checks on his fallen teammate with feigned concern. But Yoshito's expression turns sharp, telling him to look behind him. A brilliant light erupts from where the orc lord fell. Noihi shoves his own party aside, rushing towards the prize. He finds an ornate treasure chest, far grander than his last one. But Yoshito's eyes darken, his past experiences screaming, "Trap!" A reward this good for a mid-boss feels far too convenient. He cries out, trying to warn the greedy challenger. But Noihi is lost in his own triumph, his guard completely down. He peers inside, only to find the chest is completely empty. Noihi's greed quickly turns to pure, unadulterated rage. Suddenly, a brilliant golden light fills the entire chamber. Yoshito shields his eyes, caught completely off guard. The world dissolves into a blinding flash. When their vision returns, the room has changed completely. Yoshito looks around, wondering where they've been taken. Mana and Yuri are just as confused by the sudden change of scenery. A cold dread begins to creep into Yoshito's heart. Noihi realizes with horror that this is a magic tower's top floor. Well, so much for a mid-boss. A sinister purple energy erupts from the ground beneath them. A massive armored foot steps out from the shadows. Glowing runes pulse with power as the creature reveals itself. Seated on a throne of stone is the tower's final boss. The challengers can only stare up in absolute awe and terror. Yoshito can't believe it. This was supposed to be the 5th floor. A system warning flashes before their eyes in crimson red. It confirms a forced teleportation to the Hermes Tower's final boss room. The horrifying implications of their situation begin to sink in. They are now face to face with the Ogre Emperor, master of the tower. The beast leaps from its throne, a blur of terrifying speed. It closes the distance in an instant, ready to strike. The impact of its attack shakes the very foundations of the room. Yoshito knows this enemy is on another level. Their stats are useless here. He tries to warn the others, but Noihi shouts him down. The Dominator rallies his party for a predictably foolish charge. One of his teammates rushes forward, sword at the ready. He swings his blade against the Emperor's massive leg. The rest of the party joins in, their attacks proving utterly futile. The lackey cheers, convinced their attack was a success. But the Ogre Emperor stands without a single scratch. Noihi's smug expression finally begins to crumble. He roars in defiance, refusing to be underestimated. He screams his title as if the boss is supposed to be impressed. The Emperor responds with a single contemptuous swipe. Noihi's teammate is sent flying across the chamber. The challenger is crushed under the overwhelming force. Yoshito and Yuri can only watch the carnage in horror. The true gap in power is now terrifyingly clear. Noihi still clings to the hope that his shield will save him. But the system is about to deliver some very bad news. His shield's ability fails to activate due to his low stats. The Dominator is left completely defenseless on the floor. His last remaining party member cries out his name in panic. Yoshito screams at him, trying to warn him of the danger. But the Emperor's hand descends, swift and absolute. And just like that, the great Noihi-sama is no more. Yoshito clenches his fist, filled with helpless rage. He grits his teeth, cursing this impossible situation. But even so, he stands his ground, refusing to run. The final boss turns its attention to the last survivors. Mana's bravado finally shatters, urging Yuri to flee. She desperately insists that they can still escape. But the entrance is now blocked by a powerful sealing magic. It seems the tower doesn't want anyone leaving this party early. Yuri trembles, asking if this is the end for them too. The Ogre Emperor raises its weapon for the final blow. Its attack descends upon the terrified healer. She closes her eyes, bracing for an impact that never comes. But Yoshito moves in a flash, blocking the fatal blow. The girls can only stare, completely stunned by his speed. He makes a silent vow, his voice filled with resolve. He will not let anyone else die on his watch. A promise he's willing to die for, again and again. The Emperor strikes back, but Yoshito holds his ground. He leaps away, landing a small cut on the massive beast. But he knows a scratch like that won't be enough. The boss's power shatters the very floor beneath them. The Ogre Emperor seems almost confused by this defiance. It unleashes another devastating swing of its weapon. But Yoshito meets the attack head-on, refusing to yield. He channels his power, his eyes glowing with red light, and lands another solid blow against the tower's master. Yuri can't comprehend what she's seeing. The weakling she tried to protect is now fighting the final boss alone. Yoshito feels the power of his inverted stats surging. But even with his buffs, the Emperor's strength is overwhelming. He has to admit, this boss definitely lives up to the hype. He makes a chilling promise to kill it. After a few more respawns, he charges forward, unleashing a flurry of attacks. His blade connects, a flash of steel against dark armor. He presses the assault, a whirlwind of motion. The Emperor seems to have had enough of this game. It lands a brutal counter, sending our boy flying. Yoshito realizes he's reached the end of this life's potential. The final boss closes in, its attack a blur of motion. Yuri can only watch in helpless silence. Her eyes widen in horror as the inevitable happens. And the system calmly announces another game over. The system confirms another death penalty, a massive hit to his agility. But inversion immediately turns that loss into a glorious gain. He rises once more, his eyes glowing with a promise to never stay down. The girls can only stare, finally realizing the true nature of his useless skill. Mana recalls that every revival is supposed to come at a terrible price. Even the Ogre Emperor seems confused by this pest who refuses to die, but Yoshito is now a blur, effortlessly dodging the boss's clumsy strikes. He dies again, and his resistance stat gets a healthy little boost. But he knows that just tanking hits won't be enough to win. He needs more than just survivability to take down a final boss. He reaches out, practically begging the system for another death penalty. His eyes burn with a terrifying, almost insane level of determination. He needs a specific debuff, one that will invert into pure, overwhelming power. And so he lets the Emperor's attack end his life once again. His consciousness fades, another tally mark on his grim scoreboard. He's back on his feet in an instant, the revival process complete. He looks at his trembling hand, the phantom pain a constant companion. Back in the void, he admits the agony is enough to drive anyone mad. But through it all, he knows he's finally gotten the stat he wanted. The system confirms a jackpot, a double boost to his attack power. Just as he's celebrating, a new system window pops up. It seems all that dying has finally earned him a skill proficiency reward. He can now specify his respawn point. Talk about a quality of life update. He takes a moment to process the strategic implications of this new power. A slow, wicked grin spreads across his face. This new ability is going to be incredibly useful. He prepares himself, ready to return to the battlefield. The system gives him the final go-ahead for his revival. His eyes snap open, glowing with all the power he's just accumulated. He leaps into the air, ready to deliver the final decisive blow. He stands over the fallen emperor, declaring it's his turn now. His turn to deliver the final killing blow. He recalls the new feature he unlocked from all that dying. He realizes it's a failsafe to prevent getting stuck. Without it, dying in a pool of lava would be problematic. It would just lead to an endless, inescapable death loop. But with this, he can choose his revival point and break the cycle. He puts this new tactical advantage to immediate use. He respawns right behind the massive final boss, a perfect way to appear in an enemy's blind spot. And now he's here to finish what he started. His blade descends, empowered by all his previous deaths. The girls can't believe he just teleported across the room. Yoshido realizes his respawn just looked like super speed to them. He dodges another wild swing from the enraged emperor. He thinks back on Noihi's party, a flicker of pity in his eyes. As awful as they were, he never wished for their deaths. The ogre emperor roars, its patience completely gone, but in its rage it reveals a glowing weak point on its chest. Yoshido sees his opening and rockets towards the target. His eyes burn with the cold focus of a seasoned killer. The emperor can only watch as its doom approaches. His sword finds its mark, plunging deep into the beast's core. The final boss's eye widens in disbelief and pain. The massive creature finally collapses to the ground. Yoshido stands victorious, the battle finally over. The system confirms his victory and sends him his rewards. But he can't shake the feeling of unease over what it cost. His moment of reflection is interrupted by a sudden tackle hug. Yuri clings to him, just thankful that he's still alive. Yoshido is completely flustered by this sudden display of emotion. Yuri apologizes profusely for everything that just happened. She can't forget the sight of him sacrificing himself over and over. Even Mana admits that watching him die was hard to stomach. A heavy silence falls over the three survivors. Mana tries to comfort her friend, telling her not to worry. She then turns to Yoshido, apologizing for making him go through that. But he meets her gaze with a calm, unwavering resolve. He tells them that no matter how many times he fails, he'll be back. But then his cool, heroic demeanor completely shatters. He screams that dying is, in fact, incredibly painful. Mana is not quite sure how to process this sudden change in tone. He struggles to compose himself, the phantom agony still fresh, and promises that from now on, he'll try his best not to die. The girls share a warm smile, their bond finally solidified. But their moment is cut short as the chamber begins to crumble. A system message confirms the tower will disappear in 10 seconds. Yuri remembers the rule. Once a boss is defeated, the tower is gone. Yoshido suggests they all meet up again on the outside. He offers a final goodbye as his body begins to fade away. Across the city, the massive Hermes Tower starts to dematerialize. It dissolves into countless particles of light, vanishing forever, leaving a very conspicuous gap in the city's skyline. Elsewhere, a mysterious woman receives the shocking news. A man called the director can't believe the tower was cleared so soon. His subordinate confirms the report is on its way. The woman calmly reviews the data on a futuristic tablet, and she finds this unexpected development rather amusing. Meanwhile, Yoshido finds himself back in the real world, and is immediately drawing some very confused stares. He and the other challengers are unceremoniously dumped back on the street. The crowd can only watch as the Hermes Tower vanishes from existence. Yoshido takes a moment to process his monumental achievement. He looks at his hand, the one that delivered the final blow. He clenches his fist, a surge of pride and power running through him. But that confidence quickly fades into social awkwardness. He tries to compose himself to look like he belongs. The news spreads like wildfire through the challenger community. Everyone wonders which high ranker managed to clear the tower. In his head, Yoshido is already planning his victory speech. But the memory of Noihi's party's fate dampens his spirits. Still, he can't deny the confidence that comes with his first clear. He decides to make a quiet exit before anyone notices him, but his escape is cut short by a familiar voice. Mana and Yuri have found him, and they have questions about the loot. Their reunion draws the attention of the entire crowd, and a few familiar faces start to recognize our boy. including the merchant who sold him that garbage skill. The weakling he scammed is now the dominator of Hermes. Awkward. Yoshido decides a tactical retreat is in order. He escapes with the girls to a quiet back alley. He lets out a sigh of relief, finally free from the crowd. Apparently, fame comes with a lot of very personal questions, and Mana's lack of subtlety didn't exactly help the situation. Yuri reminds him that being a dominator comes with a spotlight. He reflects on the title, still not quite believing it's his. It's a strange feeling, going from zero to hero overnight. He knows it's all thanks to the skill everyone else called a mistake. But Yuri's voice brings him back to a more pressing matter. She asks about the skill's death penalty, the price he has to pay. She asks how he can wield a skill that should be crippling him. Yoshido pauses, trying to find the right words. Explaining his god-tier combo is a bit of a challenge. Yuri quickly tells him he doesn't have to explain if he's uncomfortable. He considers her offer, taking a moment to think. But as he's about to speak, he's struck by a sudden thought. He tries to open his status window but finds he can't. He remembers a fundamental rule about being outside the magic tower. A helpful infographic confirms the system is only active inside a tower. All skills and stats are effectively sealed in the real world. It's a system designed to keep powered-up challengers from causing trouble. However, as with most rules, there is one major exception. The site where a tower once stood retains a faint magical energy. He can feel the lingering presence of the Hermes Tower all around them. And with that, he can finally access his system window. The girls lean in close, eager to see his hard-earned rewards. He tells them about the unique equipment he received for his victory. His inventory displays a new weapon, the Fossa Minos. He selects the legendary item from his reward screen. A brilliant light erupts as the weapon materializes in his hand. A unique crimson blade now rests in his grasp. The girls recognize it as the one-of-a-kind reward for clearing Hermes. He holds his new sword, Phos Animos, with a confident smirk. He gives it a few swings, already looking forward to the next conquest. The girls are a little intimidated by his sudden battle readiness, but Mana's expression shifts as a brilliant idea takes hold. She shares a quick, knowing glance with her friend. She suggests that the three of them should form an official party. Yuri agrees with an overwhelming amount of enthusiasm. Yoshido is completely caught off guard by their sudden proposal. Yoshito is left speechless by their sudden offer. He asks where they should go to celebrate their new partnership. His suggestion, the Tokyo Challengers Management Bureau. The girls are, to put it mildly, a little confused. They were expecting another tower, not a trip to the DMV. He explains the bureau offers the best rates for magic stones, and our boy has a very pressing need for some quick cash. He confesses that buying his useless skill left him completely broke. The girls are not entirely surprised by this revelation. They arrive at the bureau, a government-run hub for challengers. It's a place for trading, information, and fair market prices. A welcome change from the shady merchants inside the towers. And since it's built on a former tower site, their powers are still active. The rewards for clearing Hermes included more than just a fancy sword. Yoshido watches another challenger cash out, his own payday moments away. He steps up to the counter, ready to make his first big transaction. But he pauses, trying to recall just how much loot he actually got. He pulls up his inventory, selecting the magic stones he's collected. He honestly has no idea what to expect. And then he dumps a literal mountain of crystals on the counter. The employee can only stare, her professionalism completely shattered. Yoshido himself is stunned by the sheer volume of his reward. The clerk quickly regains her composure, her eyes gleaming with delight. His hands tremble, realizing his debt is about to become a distant memory. He is now, for the first time in a long time, incredibly wealthy. He walks away from the counter already dreaming of what to buy. But his new party members look a little concerned about his spending habits. Mana immediately warns him not to blow it all and end up broke again. He agrees, even as his mind is already filled with shopping bags. But from the shadows, it seems their victory has not gone unnoticed. A chilling voice echoes in his mind. "Found you." A woman appears, explaining she came looking for him, and she's not exactly taking no for an answer. Yoshido recognizes her, a bead of sweat on his brow. She introduces herself as Rito Fuyun, chief of the bureau. She asks for a moment of the new dominator's time, and she already knows his full name, Takemichi Yoshito. She formally requests a meeting with the conqueror of Hermes. Her gaze is intense, her eyes glowing with a strange energy. Yoshido knows exactly who this is. She's a legend, rumored to be the strongest in the bureau, a challenger who conquered 3 towers before being scouted. She's a celebrity, her face plastered all over the city. But she seems a bit confused by his silence. Yoshido finally asks what the big boss wants with him. Rito holds up a single gloved finger. First, she wants a full report on his sudden victory. And second, well, this part looks a little more personal. She wants to personally verify the power of the new dominator. They walk down a sterile hallway, the meeting underway. Rito confirms the details of the trap and the forced teleport. She thanks him for sharing this critical information and assures him the Bureau will handle Noihi's next of kin. Her expression is cold, almost detached. She states that death is a common risk for all challengers. She turns to him, her tone shifting slightly, and asks a simple yet profound question. It's painful, isn't it? The words hit him harder than any physical blow. He understands she's not just talking about Noihi anymore. She speaks of the helplessness others feel in the face of death. She speaks of the helplessness of watching an ally fall in battle, a fate that Noihi's party now knows all too well. Her words strike a nerve, a truth Yoshito understands intimately, because he knows better than anyone just how painful it is. He hunches over, the weight of his many lives suddenly immense. Rito tells him it's a luxury to be able to mourn for others. She leads him to the Bureau's training room for the second part of his interview. Rito pulls up a holographic display, preparing for the test. A standard-issue training sword is tossed his way. Yoshito catches it, his grip still uncertain. He notes the blade is dull, but Rito confirms it's what he'll be using. She tells him to get ready for what comes next. With a single step, she signals the start of the trial. She issues a direct challenge, a fight to gauge his true power. She explains that understanding a dominator's strength is her duty. Yoshito realizes this isn't exactly an optional exam. Mana, ever the supportive friend, tells him to just send the chief flying. Easy for her to say. He forces a smile, the pressure clearly getting to him. But then his expression hardens. If he has to fight, he'll go all out. Rito asks if he's ready, and he gives a quiet confirmation. He steels himself facing the legendary chief of the Bureau. But Rito reminds him that she's a conqueror too, and not to be underestimated. With a final word, she declares the match has begun. And in a flash, she completely disappears from sight. She reappears right in his face, her eyes glowing with power. Her first strike sends him flying into the air. Yoshito is completely stunned by her overwhelming speed. Rito looks up, her expression unchanged, ready for the follow-up. He meets her in a flurry of blows, but he's already on the back foot. He can barely defend against her relentless, lightning-fast assault. Her speed is a blur, leaving Yoshito completely in the dust. But his senses, honed by countless deaths, kick in. He manages to parry, the impact echoing through the room. But the force behind her attack is almost too much to bear. He realizes this power is on a completely different level. He only beat the Emperor by dying repeatedly. But she conquered towers without dying even once. Talk about an overachiever. The gap between them feels impossibly wide. But then he remembers the price he paid for his strength. He's the one who persisted through endless agony. He won't let himself be defined by a simple power comparison. He decides that if defense alone won't work, he'll have to exploit the one thing every other challenger fears. Rito declares that she's starting her real attack, and Yoshito meets her head-on, his own eyes burning with power. His sudden aggression catches the Bureau chief off guard. For a split second, her movements seem to slow, and in that moment, he knows he is faster. He twists through the air, positioning himself for a strike, but his attack meets nothing but empty air. She's already behind him, her blade held to his throat. He can't believe he was so easily outmaneuvered. Rito admits his move was certainly unexpected. She explains that against a normal foe, his speed would be enough. But she notes that he hesitated for a crucial moment. If he hadn't, the fight might have been a one-sided affair. She moves with a fluid grace he can't possibly match. He realizes he's been completely and utterly outclassed. She tells him that his power is still unrefined, and that his hesitation is a fatal flaw in a real fight. Rito unleashes another blindingly fast strike, but she pauses, noting his strange hesitation. Yoshito admits that for a moment he thought she was vulnerable. Rito doesn't believe it was an act of kindness. She suggests his instincts froze, unable to process her movements. But Yoshito's eyes glow. He reveals he was also taking a chance. He charges forward, ready to play his ultimate trump card. He apologizes for the unfair advantage of infinite revival. The name of the skill triggers a memory for the Bureau chief. She recalls the report on the boy who can't stay dead, a challenger who can fight without the fear of death. She finally sees the true nature of the power before her, a truly fearsome ability, born from endless suffering. But Rito is faster, landing a solid blow to his face. She tells him she won't fall for the same trick twice. Yoshito grits his teeth, the impact rattling him to the core, but the pain only fuels the fire in his eyes. Rito seems to sense the shift in his resolve. The two warriors prepare for the next exchange. He declares that compared to dying, a little pain is nothing. Rito lowers her sword, her expression unreadable. A small, knowing smile touches her lips. She finally understands the source of his strange power. She's about to concede, but Yoshito has other plans. Specifically, the plan to collapse from sheer exhaustion. Rito can only stare, her victory speech cut short. The adrenaline has finally worn off, leaving only the pain. He doesn't care about winning, he just wants a medic. His soul literally tries to escape his body. So much for a cool exit. And his new party members try to shove it back in. Teamwork makes the dream work, I guess. Yoshito catches his breath, realizing he almost died for real this time. Rito points out the obvious. He didn't die, so what's the problem? He declares the fight settled and asks if he can finally leave. But the bureau chief gives him a firm and simple no. She explains that his power has now been officially verified, and because of that, she has a special request just for him. His party members recognize this as the legendary bureau request, one that comes with an incredible reward. Rito confirms the reward is a massive cash prize. Finally, something our boy understands. Yoshito, ever the pragmatist, asks for the details first. She explains that a few hours ago, a new tower appeared. The entrance is sealed, and she wants Yoshito to be the one to go in. His mission to enter the tower and gather information. This is the Mage Tower, codenamed Pphanie. A request she can only entrust to him. She believes he is the only one who can handle this mission. But Yoshito wonders why the Bureau isn't sending its own people. Rito reveals that they already dispatched their own challengers. 10 of their best agents were sent inside. And as for how many returned, not a single one. The girls are horrified by this grim revelation. Rito admits she was just as shocked at first. But a search team was sent in to confirm the worst. Every single one of the dispatched challengers was found dead. They were all found near the entrance, desperately trying to escape. Yoshito realizes something is wrong. That area should be a safe zone. Monsters can't spawn there, so what could have possibly killed them? Furthermore, their bodies showed no signs of a monster attack. Their cause of death remains a complete mystery. She immediately recalled the search party, deeming it too dangerous. With no answers, the tower stands as an unsolved, lethal puzzle. Rito concludes her grim report on the Pphanie Tower. Yoshito realizes they want him because he's the only one who can die. Rito insists she has no intention of throwing his life away, but she can't risk losing any more of her own agents. She leans in, asking him to accept the request for her sake. Yoshito is caught between a rock and a very deadly place. He sighs, the weight of the decision settling on him. And so, he agrees to enter the deadly Mage Tower, Pphanie. He finds himself in the first floor's supposedly safe area. He grits his teeth, the pressure of the mission already immense. The thought of what happened here is enough to give him a headache. He steels himself, ready to find the cause of death and end the mystery. His friends' tearful goodbyes are not helping his focus. He decides to check his gear and move forward. He feels a surge of confidence knowing they're all relying on him, and is immediately greeted by a welcoming party of skeletons. The undead horde charges forward with silent, deadly intent. A single skeleton lunges, its empty eyes fixed on him. But Yoshito's new sword cuts through them with a single glowing slash. He can't help but admire the power of his unique equipment. Now it's time to test out the weapon's special ability. But a sudden strange feeling makes him pause. A sinister purple aura begins to envelop him. He swings his blade, trying to fight off the unseen force. He screams at the encroaching presence to get away. A red system window appears before his eyes. His gaze locks onto the ominous notification. He finally understands the true cause of the challengers' deaths. A system warning confirms it, the curse of Pphanie. He realizes that for any normal challenger, this would be a death sentence. He grits his teeth. It wasn't a monster, but a status effect. The sinister purple energy swirls around him, its purpose fulfilled. It begins to recede, its deadly work seemingly done. The curse pulls back, leaving him standing in the eerie silence. He wonders if that was all it had to offer. With a wicked grin, he taunts the unseen force. The system confirms a death sentence, but it's one he can appeal. He decides to follow the curse back to its source. The strange purple presence lingers just ahead. He realizes this tower is an impossible challenge for anyone else. The fog grows thicker, drawing him deeper into the dungeon. He finds himself in a vast chamber, the air thick with malice. At the far end, a swirling vortex pulses with dark energy. A blast of cursed power suddenly erupts from the source. The attack is too fast, catching him completely by surprise. He barely manages to deflect the deadly projectile. And from the vortex, a new guardian emerges. The system identifies it as the Cursed Spring Gatekeeper. The creature lets out a low, guttural growl. It unleashes a barrage of dark energy orbs. but Yoshido's agility is more than a match for the assault. The gatekeeper snarls, clearly not used to being dodged. It lets out a roar of pure, unadulterated rage. The monster summons a massive wave of cursed fog. Yoshido is engulfed by the suffocating purple mist. The gatekeeper stands at the center of its own personal storm. It seems to be calling on the very power of the tower itself. Suddenly, a new threat emerges from the fog. He cuts down the skeleton with a single fluid motion, but it seems the gatekeeper has called in a few friends. He meets the skeleton's attack with his own blade and carves a path right through the undead minion. But he realizes the curse is still taking its toll. His body gives out, collapsing under the strain. The gatekeeper roars in triumph, its trap sprung. Yoshido's vision fades as the curse consumes him, but the system sees a curse as just another debuff. He rises from the ashes, surrounded by shattered bone. He tells the gatekeeper that this tower's deadly curse is nothing more than a high-grade healing potion to him. He leaps forward, ready to return the favor. His blade unleashes a storm of light, tearing the guardian apart. But as the monster fades, something unexpected happens. The cursed spring has been purified. Its waters now clear. Back at the bureau, Rito finally understands the tower's secret. A status effect that causes instant death is a terrifying concept. She asks if there's any way to counter this deadly trap. Yoshido smugly reveals he brought back a souvenir. He tosses her a small vial, the key to conquering Pphanie. She examines the glowing liquid, the fruit of his labor. It's Persephone's holy water, a perfect antidote to the curse. He explains that with this, the tower is no longer a death sentence. He only made it to the 3rd floor before returning, but he confirmed that every floor has its own cursed spring. The entire tower is a puzzle of purification and survival. Rito understands. With this knowledge, the tower can be opened. She officially declares his mission a success and presents him with his well-earned, very large reward. The sheer size of the payment leaves even the bureau chief speechless. He worries it's not enough, but she insists it's plenty. Guess he's rich again. He realizes the combined rewards are an absolutely ridiculous sum, which he immediately spends on a questionable new wardrobe. He basks in the glow of his newfound wealth and freedom, but his moment of peace is about to be shattered. Mana suggests they invite their newly rich friend to conquer Persephone. Yoshido spots them and is immediately filled with panic. He tries to hide, begging the universe not to let them see him like this. But his tiger print jacket isn't exactly subtle. He attempts a tactical retreat, but it's far too late. The girls share a look of pure, unadulterated judgment. Mana makes her move, tapping him on the shoulder. She gets a good look at his new fashion statement, and her reaction is one of absolute horror. She demands to know why he's acting so weird. He confesses that sudden wealth has clearly impaired his judgment. Yuri tries to be supportive, but the pity is palpable. Mana bluntly tells him to put the strange outfit aside. With that settled, they invite him to join their raid on Persephone. He asks why they'd want to enter such a dangerous tower. Mana explains that the cursed magic stones are a gold mine. Yuri adds that challengers are clearing floors at an alarming rate. Mana insists it's only fair he helps them get rich, too. But Yoshito has one very important condition first. He sheepishly admits he needs a serious wardrobe change. Meanwhile, inside the tower, another challenger faces their end. He clutches the holy water, his only hope against the curse. But a grim, hooded figure stands over the fallen. The master of this floor turns its attention to the new arrivals. A skeletal face with glowing purple eyes peers from the shadows. The party has arrived on the 10th floor of Persephone. The skeletal minions of the 10th floor rise to meet them. But Yoshido's Phos Anemos meets the first challenger head-on. He effortlessly parries the attack, his focus absolute. His eyes glow with a power far beyond his current level. A flurry of crimson slashes reduces the monster to pieces. He stands unfazed as the bones rain down around him. Mana is impressed, admitting he's gotten much stronger. Yoshido plays it cool, saying it's just a natural level progression. He knows leveling up is mostly for show at this point, but he decides to keep up appearances for his new party. A system warning flashes. Their holy water protection is about to expire. Mana suggests he take another dose just to be safe, but Yoshido freezes, a sudden thought stopping him cold. His mind races, connecting the dots of his unique skills. If he uses a buff item, will inversion turn it into a curse? That's a risk he is absolutely not willing to take. He realizes he really needs to explain his powers to his friends. But as he turns to speak, their time runs out. The floor's true guardian erupts from the ground in a cloud of mist. Mana is so shocked she drops the life-saving potion. Nice one. The hooded figure descends upon them with terrifying speed. It snatches Yuri, holding a cursed blade to her throat. She struggles against its grip, completely helpless. Yoshido realizes the mist itself is the source of the curse. Yuri's eyes glow red. The status effect has taken hold. A system window confirms the inevitable. The curse of Persephone has been applied, with a 120-second timer. Yoshido knows they ran into it just as their protection wore off. And with Yuri captured, she can't take the antidote. Mana unleashes a furious counterattack trying to free her friend. Mana's attack is blocked, a flash of light and fury. Yuri can only watch, her face a mask of terror. The force of the blow sends Mana flying backwards. But Yoshito is already moving, his eyes burning with resolve. He unleashes a whirlwind of strikes against the Guardian. His expression is one of pure, focused determination. His blade becomes a blur, a storm of crimson and steel. The creature's glowing eyes watch his every move, but every single attack is effortlessly parried by its scythe. Guess it's not its first rodeo. He grits his teeth, realizing he can't break its defense. The monster remains completely unfazed by his assault. The three of them are locked in a deadly high-speed dance. He tries to understand why the creature isn't fighting back. It's strong, but it's only defending, not attacking. Mana reminds him that they're running out of time. The clock is ticking down. Less than 90 seconds remain for Yuri. Yuri struggles desperately against the creature's iron grip, but the Guardian's gaze is cold and completely merciless. It seems to be enjoying her terror, her helplessness. A wave of dark energy pulses from the monster's body. A system window reveals its ominous title, Soul Expunger. Sounds friendly. And in that moment, Yoshido finally understands its plan. It's not just killing them, it's savoring their fear. But it has severely underestimated Yoshido's rage. He lunges forward, his patience completely gone. Their blades meet in a shower of sparks and fury. The creature seems to mock him, but he's not backing down. He breaks the stalemate with a powerful, well-placed kick. But as it falls, it drops something small and dark. Mana screams at him to ignore it, but he reaches for the object. The monster unleashes a shockwave, sending them both flying. They can only stare in horror at what's been revealed. The Soul Expunger now commands an entire army of the dead, and it seems very, very pleased with its new audience. Yoshido realizes this was all a trap to finish them off. He turns to Mana, asking if she's finally scared. She scoffs, declaring she was born ready for this. She leaps into the fray, a whirlwind of blades and fury. Her attack shatters the first skeleton into 1,000 pieces. She lands with a grin, admitting this is getting her fired up. Yoshido challenges her to keep up with his pace. The two of them become a blur of red and gold light. They carve a path through the endless sea of bones. Their movements are perfectly in sync, a deadly dance. Mana checks on him, but his focus is absolute. His eyes glow red. Less than a minute until Yuri's curse takes her. A terrifying red aura erupts from his body. He declares that he will forge a path forward himself. His attack tears through the horde like a beam of pure light. He holds up the ring, knowing no one else could use it. He equips the cursed item without a moment's hesitation. A strange, ornate ring materializes on his finger. The system confirms it. A death sentence in 5 seconds. Great choice. But thanks to inversion, that death sentence is now a healing spell. With a full heal on the way, he no longer needs to defend. He unleashes a massive attack aiming for the boss itself. The Crimson Slash cuts a clean path through the minions. The Soul Expunger seems to welcome the challenge. Yoshito's eyes burn, ready to show it his true power. It's time to finally unleash his weapon's special skill. He activates his sword's special skill, 7-Strike Assault, a high-risk combo that fails if he's interrupted even once. The Soul Expunger moves to intercept, Yuri still in its grasp. But its counterattack connects, sending Yoshido reeling. Yuri can only cry out his name in absolute terror. He grits his teeth, the pain of familiar, unwelcome friend. But the ring's curse kicks in, healing his wounds instantly. He brings his blade down, continuing the relentless assault. He now has a full heal every 5 seconds. Talk about a broken build. The Soul Expunger seems unimpressed by his new party trick. Yoshido unleashes another devastating arc of energy. The ring's death timer finally hits 0. And inversion works its beautiful, twisted magic once again. The system confirms the death sentence has become a full recovery. He becomes a blur, his attacks now completely unstoppable. The Guardian declares this next strike will be its last. Yoshido meets the challenge with a manic, confident grin. He unleashes his ultimate skill, a massive chain bloom. The very air shatters from the force of the attack. The Soul Expunger is engulfed in the blinding light. Its shadowy form finally begins to break apart. With the monster gone, Yuri begins to fall from the air. She plummets towards the cold, hard floor below. But a pair of strong arms catches her just in time. She opens her eyes to see Yoshito, her unlikely savior. He offers a gentle smile, just glad that she's safe. Mana quickly reminds them they're still on a timer. Romance can wait. He quickly administers the holy water, curing the curse. He reflects on the monster's cunning timing, and on the ring that turns certain death into his greatest weapon. But the victory comes with a strange side effect. A dark energy erupts from the ring, engulfing Yoshido. He grits his teeth, enduring the sudden surge of power. The girls watch on, wondering if their friend is about to explode. He panics, realizing the cursed item is now stuck to his finger. So much for a clean getaway. The ring glows with an intense otherworldly light. Yoshido can only sweat, completely at the mercy of the artifact. But through the fear, a new understanding dawns. The system confirms the ring has evolved into a new, corroded form. He tries to explain the strange situation to his concerned party. He finds he can now unequip the item through the system menu. With the crisis averted, he wonders what their next move is. Mana decides Yuri has had enough excitement for one day. Yuri apologizes, feeling she was a burden to the team. But Mana quickly reassures her, a new plan already forming. Yuri finds her resolve, vowing to become the best loot gatherer ever. An admirable, if specific, goal. She unleashes her newfound motivation on the remaining skeletons. Her friends can only watch, completely drained by her endless energy. With the tower now open, the conquest of Pphanie begins in earnest. In just 1 week, challengers have reached the 30th floor boss. Back at the bureau, Yoshito enjoys a rare moment of quiet. He sets down his coffee, taking a break from the grind. He sits alone, a seasoned challenger lost in thought. But his peace is broken by whispers from a nearby table. Other challengers are discussing the sealed boss room of Pphanie. A familiar voice calls out his name, breaking his concentration. Mana and Yuri arrive, ready for their next adventure. They ask about the door, but the method to open it is still a mystery. But Mana reveals she has a secret weapon, a hot tip from a friend. She quickly shushes him, not wanting their secret to get out. She leans in to whisper the cryptic clue. The hint speaks of a grim offering, proof of many deaths, and a second part, to raise the proof of decay. Yoshido is, to put it mildly, completely lost. Mana admits she has absolutely no idea what it means either. The group collectively decides the hint is poetic nonsense. But Yuri chimes in with some crucial intel. She explains that many challengers have found rings with a death effect. Mana immediately asks Yoshido if he has one too. He confirms it, noting that each person can only get one. But Yuri adds that even with the rings, the door remains sealed. Yoshido stands, a new theory already forming in his mind. He declares they're heading back to Pphanie. He believes his unique, evolved ring is the key. He dramatically calls it a magic key. Theatrics are clearly his new thing. They arrive on the 30th floor, the air thick with anticipation. But Yoshido has a moment of doubt, wondering what happens if he's wrong. His friends, however, are still stuck on his cringy magic key line. He explains that his ring is different from the others, because he pushed its death effect to the absolute limit. Yuri is horrified, realizing he willingly activated a death curse. She remembers his revival skill, while Mana just sighs at his recklessness. Yoshido clarifies that he used inversion to survive it, and that's when he connects it all back to the original hint. The decayed ring is the proof of many deaths. The girls are blown away by his brilliant deduction. Yoshido gets flustered by the sudden praise. He realizes he might have oversold his own genius, but now he has to put his theory to the test. His entire reputation now rests on this one, single ring. Other challengers have tried and failed to open this door, but Yoshido presents his own key, a pass forged in death. He reaches out, putting his grand theory to the test. For a long, awkward moment, absolutely nothing happens. He sheepishly admits he might have been wrong. So much for the dramatic entrance. But then, the decayed ring begins to glow with an intense light. The massive stone doors respond to its otherworldly power. And with a low groan, the path forward is finally revealed. Yoshido can't help but cry with relief. His reputation is saved. But his triumph is cut short by a dawning, dreadful realization. He was so focused on the lock, he forgot about the monster behind the door. And on the 30th floor, this will be no ordinary fight. The boss here is likely even stronger than the ogre emperor. He turns to his friends, a bead of sweat on his brow. He suggests a tactical retreat, but a shadowy hand has other plans. His eyes widen in terror as he's dragged into the darkness. The girls can only cry out his name as he's pulled inside. He's sent tumbling through the vast, empty boss chamber. The impact sends him crashing hard against the stone floor. He pushes himself up, his heart pounding in his chest. Mana screams at him, trying to warn him of the danger. But the massive doors slam shut, sealing him inside. A powerful magic barrier ensures he's not getting any backup. He realizes with a sinking heart that he's completely alone. From a swirling vortex, the master of this floor emerges. A massive, cloaked figure wreathed in an aura of pure dread. A skeletal hand emerges from the shadows of its robe. The guardian of the 30th floor has finally revealed itself. Yoshido stands alone, ready to face the new threat. The creature looks down, its face hidden in shadow, ready to pass judgment. The boss taps its staff, a silent declaration of war. A wave of blue energy floods the entire chamber. The very air crackles with its otherworldly power. But Yoshido meets its gaze, his own resolve unshaken. He knows he has no choice but to charge head-on. Outside, his friends can only watch and wait in terror. The system identifies the foe, an elder bone priest. And it seems very, very happy to have a visitor. It unleashes a torrent of soul fire from above. But this isn't just a simple energy blast. The boss is summoning reinforcements from the floor itself. The system confirms it, a legion of follower skeletons. He realizes this boss is a summoner, a classic RPG nightmare. He knows he'll be at a disadvantage if this drags on. The skeletons waste no time, unleashing a coordinated attack. He decides to ignore the small fry and aim for the source. He'll take them all out at once by cutting off the head. He becomes a blur, weaving through the magical assault. But his attack is met with an unbreakable defense. The priest seems to have anticipated his every move. He slides back, realizing their defense is impenetrable. And in that moment of hesitation, the horde closes in. A blade finds its mark, a searing line of pain. The agony is real, a familiar and unwelcome sensation. The minions loom over him, ready to finish the job. And the system calmly announces another game over. The penalty is applied and inversion works its magic. He's back on his feet, faster and stronger than before. His blade now shatters their defenses with ease. The bone priest can only stare, its plan suddenly falling apart. Yoshido grits his teeth, the pressure mounting with every second. He realizes these skeletons are surprisingly tough for a pile of bones. Every parry is a desperate struggle against the undead horde, and he quickly understands that he is completely outnumbered. This is a fight he simply cannot win on his own. The skeletons swarm him, their bony grips like iron shackles. He's pinned to the ground, completely and utterly immobilized. He can only curse his own helplessness in the face of the swarm. From the horde, a new, more powerful minion emerges to greet him. Even the bone priest seems confused by this sudden turn of events. But just in time, his backup finally crashes the party. Yuri unleashes a powerful blast of purifying magic. She cries out in triumph, thinking the battle is finally over. But her celebration is, to put it mildly, tragically premature. The ground itself erupts with a massive skeletal jaw. The defeated minions rise once more, their eyes glowing with new power. The girls are now trapped, completely surrounded with no way out. Yoshido struggles, knowing his friends are now in grave danger. His eyes burn with a desperate, protective fury. But the bone priest has a special kind of torment in mind for him. A blade finds its mark, a searing line of pain across his arm. He can't suppress a cry of pure, unadulterated agony. The horde descends upon him, a whirlwind of bony claws. The boss watches, savoring his slow and painful demise. He feels a sharp bite, a final insult before the inevitable end. But that pain is channeled into one final, furious strike. The minions around him are reduced to nothing but shattered bone. The bone priest, however, remains completely unimpressed. Yoshido begs it to stop, his body finally giving out. The master of this floor simply looks down, its judgment absolute. The bone priest watches as its minions overwhelm him. A final, brutal impact signals the end of this life. The boss doesn't even flinch as Yoshido is torn apart. Its cold gaze sweeps over the now silent chamber. It stands as the absolute ruler of this floor. Yoshido lies broken, his consciousness fading away. But even in defeat, a faint smile touches his lips. The priest reaches out, ready to claim its prize. Yoshido realizes he's developing a new phobia of skeletal priests. The boss turns away, assuming the fight is over for good. It begins to channel an even greater, more terrifying power. But from the floor, a single eye snaps open. The boss unleashes a wave of pure psychic terror. Yoshido's mind is flooded with visions of his own demise. He screams, not from pain, but from the mental assault. He finds himself back in the familiar, lonely void. The memory of his death replays in a horrifying loop. He covers his face, trying to block out the phantom agony. The trauma of this death is unlike any he's felt before. His mind is on the verge of completely shattering. The faces of his tormentors flash before his eyes. The bone priest's empty sockets stare into his very soul. He struggles to his knees, his body still racked with pain. But through the agony, a new resolve begins to form. He checks his status, his mind already back in the fight. He knows that if he fails, his friends are next. The revival timer counts down his return to the battlefield. He forces himself up, ready to save the ones he cares for. He knows what he has to do, but the fear is immense. His body trembles, a testament to the hell he's enduring. The system confirms his revival is just moments away. But this time, Yoshido decides to change his respawn point. The system gives him the final go-ahead for his grand re-entrance. He reappears in the chamber, ready for another brutal round. But his eyes fall on Mana and Yuri, trapped by the undead horde. A desperate cry escapes his lips, fueled by rage and fear for his friends. The Bone Priest's gaze seems to lock onto his very soul. He reaches out, but his body is suddenly frozen in place. He struggles against an unseen force, his muscles refusing to obey. He can only stand there, feeling utterly pathetic and helpless. The mental assault is overwhelming, paralyzing him completely. Mana does her best to shield a terrified Yuri from the encroaching skeletons. Yoshido grits his teeth, forced to watch his friends in peril. The Bone Priest looks down, ready to end this little drama. But a massive explosion suddenly tears through the chamber wall. A new challenger stands in the blast, looking just as surprised as everyone else. His eyes widen, taking in the chaotic scene before him. He stands in the hole he just made, a glowing sword in his hand. He explains he just forced the door open since it was sealed, and admits he wasn't expecting to find a party already in progress. The girls stare at their unexpected, door-destroying savior. Even the Bone Priest seems a little taken aback by the rude entrance. Yoshido looks back, wondering who this new guy could possibly be. The stranger's expression hardens, ready for a fight. He calmly notes that the situation looks pretty dire. Understatement of the year. 2 skeletons move in to finish off the paralyzed Yoshido, but the newcomer's blade blocks the attack with ease. He grabs Yoshido by the collar, offering to lend a hand. He tells the stunned kid not to worry about a thing. He introduces himself as the Dominator King, Kogura Okiyomi. With a confident smile, Kogura Okiyomi promises that no one will die on his watch. Yoshido can only stare, the title Dominator King echoing in his mind. It's a rank reserved for the elite who conquer towers over 100 floors high. Kogura tells him they can chat later. First, it's time to dominate this floor. His sword ignites, wreathed in a brilliant, destructive flame. He unleashes a massive wave of fire across the entire chamber. The attack slams into the ground, a roaring inferno of power. A single word confirms the skill's name. Floga. A second skill, Ellenhos, creates a whirlwind of fiery slashes. The skeleton horde is completely engulfed, looking rather surprised by the heat. Yoshido can only watch, completely in awe of this level of strength. But the Bone Priest summons a new, more powerful minion. A skeletal beast wreathed in blue flame lunges from the shadows. The boss seems to have made a slight miscalculation. Kogura declares the boss isn't getting away and charges the new beast. The creature erects a powerful hexagonal magic barrier. But Kogura's eyes glow, ready to shatter its defenses. The two forces meet in a blinding clash of fire and magic. The barrier cracks and shatters under the overwhelming assault. The resulting explosion sends a shockwave across the room. Yoshido shields his face from the dust and debris. Kogura calmly surveys the aftermath of his attack. He moves in, ready to finish off the skeletal beast. A single, decisive strike sends its head flying. He lands gracefully, standing over the defeated minion. The Dominator King's focus is absolute, his power undeniable. A small, confident smile touches his lips. He turns his attention back to a very stunned Yoshido. He tells the youngster that the final blow is all his. He gestures to the Bone Priest, offering Yoshido the honor of the kill. Yoshido is still reeling from the mental assault. Kogura notes that our boy looks like he's been through hell. He tells him to settle this fight with his own 2 hands. The words seem to break through Yoshido's paralysis. He grips his sword, offering a quiet word of thanks. But the Bone Priest isn't waiting for a heartfelt moment. It unleashes a final, desperate wave of dark energy. Yoshido charges forward, a blur of crimson light. The Bone Priest seems to accept its fate with a final thought. Yoshido feels his strength return, ready to fight once more. Kogura puts a hand on his shoulder, his expression serious. He congratulates him on becoming the Dominator of Persephone. Yoshido is stunned, trying to protest the title. He insists that he only landed the very last hit. He argues that Kogura was the one who truly won the fight. But the Dominator King just smiles, waving it off. The system confirms the rule. The reward goes to the one who lands the final blow. Kogura offers to give him all the loot anyway, but then he playfully takes it back. Nope, the rules are the rules. Yoshido can only look on, completely bewildered. Kogura tells him to use the rewards to grow even stronger. But he does have one small request in return. He wants to see the unique weapon from the tower. Seems he's a bit of a gearhead. Yoshido looks like he's about to have a panic attack. He pulls up his inventory, revealing the grand prize. He selects the unique weapon. the Arcanum Aqua. The item materializes in a brilliant flash of light, and Yoshito's jaw hits the floor. It's a magnificent, glowing magical staff. Kogura asks the million-dollar question. Can he even use magic? Yoshito admits with an awkward smile that he can't use magic at all, but a new idea forms as he turns to his party's healer. He offers the legendary staff to Yuri, the one who can actually use it. She can only stare, stunned by his generous offer. But her expression shifts, her gaze turning serious. She tells him she doesn't deserve such a powerful weapon. Yoshito is caught off guard by her sudden refusal. Mana explains that they both feel they were useless in the fight. Yuri adds that even in the last tower, they were a liability. She believes they've been nothing but a burden to him. And with that, she suggests they shouldn't have partied up at all. Yoshito quickly argues that he was just as helpless this time. He admits that without the Dominator King's help, he would have been the one who needed protecting. Mana offers a small, knowing smile at his words. She asks if he's finally realized the truth of their situation, that in their eyes, he's the one they're supposed to protect. He stammers, trying to explain that's not what he meant. A symbolic chasm opens between them, a rift in their party. The weight of their words leaves him sweating and speechless. The girls look at him with newfound resolve, vowing to get stronger. Yoshito is completely taken aback by their sudden declaration. Yuri explains they'll be tackling Pphanie on their own for a while. Mana adds that once they're strong enough to stand by his side, they promise they will return to him. Yuri insists that until then, he should hold on to the staff for them. The legendary weapon is pushed back into his hands. Yuri looks away, her decision seemingly final. But Yoshito tells her that's all the more reason she should take it. He declares that to get stronger, you use every tool at your disposal. Yuri accepts the staff, her resolve now matching his. Yoshito stands in the quiet aftermath, the battle finally over. But the system announces the tower's imminent collapse. They all begin to fade, offering a quick, casual goodbye. Back in the real world, Kogura comments on their mature farewell. Yoshito just smiles, trying to hide his own feelings. But Kogura admits that even for him, this life can be lonely. He then asks how Yoshito knew his name, a very valid question. A sly grin spreads across the Dominator King's face. He invites Yoshito to hang out for a while, an offer our boy doesn't seem to have the energy to refuse. He asks what the king wants, but agrees to go along. Kogura explains he's been summoned by the bureau chief, a name that immediately makes Yoshito break into a cold sweat. Kogura knows a summons like this can only mean trouble. He admits his visit to Pphanie was just to kill time. Yoshito tries to downplay his own victory, feeling outclassed. But Kogura just offers a word of encouragement. He notes they still have time before his big meeting, and he has a very specific idea on how to spend it. He suggests a little retail therapy to unwind, and offers to foot the bill, a perk of being the king. He offers to teach Yoshito the ways of the wealthy, an offer that our formerly broke boy cannot possibly refuse. Kogura seems very excited to share his financial wisdom, and so the two Dominators head to the bureau headquarters, where Yoshito immediately embraces his new flashy lifestyle. Turns out the smart way to use money involves some very questionable fashion choices. They finally arrive for their meeting with the bureau chief, who takes one look at them and has no idea who they are. Yoshito insists she shouldn't ask if she already knows the answer. Rito calmly points out it's because of his very strange outfit. Kogura tells Yoshito to accept this harsh fashion reality. He declares that power is meaningless without a good sense of style. Yoshito argues that even so, this level of critique is just cruel. The words land with the force of a physical blow. He deflects, accusing the bureau chief of having no fashion sense either. A bold and frankly stupid move. He imagines she probably just wears sloppy clothes at home. Rito's eye twitches, a sign of impending doom. She calmly sits at her desk, a storm brewing beneath the surface. Her gloved hand picks up a nearby file. It's a magazine cover, featuring a very stylish woman. A headline confirms Rito is one of the city's top fashion icons. Yoshito immediately prostrates himself, begging for forgiveness. Kogura can only laugh at our boy's complete and utter failure. He finally gets serious, asking Rito why she summoned him. She explains there's only one reason to call a challenger of his level. The Tokyo Challengers Management Bureau is planning a major operation. The two Dominators listen, their full attention now on the chief. Rito confirms the mission is of the highest priority. Their target, the Great Magic Tower, Zeus. Kogura seems to have been expecting this very news. Rito explains that the death toll in the tower has been rising steadily, and the Bureau has decided it can no longer stand by and watch. All resources found will be distributed among the volunteers. Each challenger will be assigned a role based on their abilities. She warns that the danger of this tower is on another level entirely. Even with the Bureau's full support, she expects heavy casualties. But to minimize the losses, she needs him on the front lines. She needs the great dominator, Kogura Okiyomi. Kogura accepts, willing to fight if it means saving lives. He promises to lend his full power to the cause. Yoshito, meanwhile, feels like he's crashed a very exclusive party, but the Dominator King has one condition for his cooperation. He's bringing Yoshito to the front lines, and Rito calmly agrees. Our boy, however, is having a slight, very loud objection. Kogura just winks, telling his new partner he's counting on him. Yoshito's face says everything his screaming couldn't. His silent panic echoes throughout the entire bureau. Kogura suggests they use the time to level up. Rito confirms the preparations for the Zeus raid will take some time. She gives them free rein until the mission begins. Kogura immediately asks for a good place to train. He wants to whip Yoshito into shape before the big fight. Yoshito asks if he has a choice, and the answer is a resounding no. He wonders why the king is so invested in him. Kogura explains he wants to see Yoshito grow even stronger. He believes our boy is the only one suitable for this path. Yoshito listens, the weight of that expectation settling in. Rito offers a recommendation for their training grounds, a place known as the Magic Tower, Proteus. She explains that while it's not special, its monsters are high level, and a recent discovery of magic stones has made it a popular spot. Kogura decides their destination is set. He tells Yoshito to follow him, ready to begin the grind. He adds with a grin that they'll take down the boss while they're there. Casual. They arrive in the tower, facing a sleek metallic guardian. Kogura wants to test Yoshito's limits, asking him to fight alone. Yoshito takes a deep breath, preparing for the solo challenge. He plants his feet, ready to show the king what he can do. He leaps into the air, his blade a crimson blur. The guardian meets him with impossible speed of its own. Their blades clash, a test of pure reaction time. He slides under a devastating overhead strike. He notices a flaw in the monster's technique. Its attacks are powerful, but its swings are far too wide. A fatal opening that Yoshito is more than ready to exploit. A small smile plays on his lips. He's found its weakness. But Kogura's voice suddenly cuts through the battle. Yoshito freezes, completely caught off guard by the interruption. And in that moment of hesitation, the Guardian attacks. Kogura admits he wants to help the kid. But first, he needs to see Yoshito's true power for himself. A test that comes with a very painful price. The Dominator King watches from a distance, a silent observer. Our boy is pinned to the ground, his life fading fast. The shock and agony are written all over his face. The metallic guardian stands over him, its work complete. But he's back on his feet, channeling that pain into fury. He screams that he's had enough of this little test. Kogura finally sees the true nature of infinite revival. He realizes Yoshito is the only one who can be his partner. Yoshito taunts the now disarmed guardian, but it seems this monster has more than one trick up its sleeve. It forms a new blade of pure energy, ending his life again, and the system calmly announces another game over. The penalty is applied and inversion works its magic. He rises once more, the phantom pain a fresh memory. He unleashes a devastating counterattack of his own. Their final clash is a blinding explosion of light and steel. He roars that he will never forgive this monster. His blade meets the guardians in a shower of sparks. He breaks the stalemate with a powerful kick. The blow sends the metallic creature reeling. But it seems this fight is far from over, because the Guardian has just brought a friend. Great, now there are two of them. They unleash a barrage of deadly projectiles. The ground erupts in a series of explosions. The two Guardians charge forward in perfect sync. Yoshito can't believe this is even happening, and now he's completely surrounded by copies. Talk about bullying. He unleashes a desperate sweeping attack, but he's forced back on the defensive once more. He carves a path through the endless duplicates. But the sheer numbers are just too much to handle. He grits his teeth, knowing this can't continue. He realizes with a grim certainty that he'll die again. The fear and rage mix into a terrifying expression. Kogura decides the observation period is officially over. He leaps in, pulling Yoshito from the brink of death. His own blade cuts through the horde with ease. The force of his attack shatters the very ground. He admits that Yoshito's power is truly something else. But now it's his turn to show off. He prepares to unleash his own full strength. His sword ignites, wreathed in a brilliant inferno. The remaining guardians are instantly consumed by the flames. He stands calmly as the smoke begins to clear. He seems a little disappointed they all evaporated in one hit. He tells a stunned Yoshito that his strength was conveyed loud and clear. Yoshito admits this training session isn't quite what he pictured. He wanted to show off his own desperate struggle for survival, but he clarifies that being desperate isn't exactly a choice. The two dominators share a moment of intense, high-pitched debate. Kogura assures him there will be plenty of other chances to impress. Yoshido asks what their next move is, his energy clearly drained. Kogura recalls Rito's intel about a large mining area up ahead. He explains that magic stones are crystallized mana, a favorite snack for monsters. Some creatures even absorb the stones to boost their own power, which is why these mining areas are hotspots for powerful foes. He asks if our boy is following this very important lesson. Yoshido's plan is simple: find the monsters and take their stuff. A plan the Dominator King seems more than happy to endorse. They arrive at a massive cavern, its walls lined with glowing crystals. It seems other challengers have already set up a mining operation. They work tirelessly, chipping away at the valuable resources. And among the miners, he spots a few familiar faces taking a break. But deeper in the cavern, a more ominous presence lurks. A massive stone golem awakens, its eyes burning with red light. Yoshido remembers the massive payday from his last haul. He imagines the fortune waiting for them in this very cave. A vision of unimaginable wealth fills his mind. He's a simple man with simple dreams. He declares with fiery passion that it's time to start mining. But Kogura is about to shatter that beautiful, money-filled dream. He points out the obvious flaw. If it were that easy, everyone would be here. Yoshido pauses, realizing the king has a very good point. Kogura explains that when stones are clustered together, their individual power is low. They're forced to compete for the surrounding magic, diluting their quality. This results in low-quality stones filled with impurities. So even if they mined them all, they wouldn't be worth much. So much for getting rich quick. But Kogura explains that some people will still mine them. It's a safe, if not particularly profitable, way to make a living. And right on cue, a group of miners celebrates a lucky find. Yoshido watches them from a distance, lost in thought. But his quiet observation is cut short by a very nosy mentor. Kogura playfully accuses him of checking out the local talent. He demands to know which of the girls has caught our boy's eye. Yoshido can only deny it, his face a mask of pure panic. The Dominator King is thoroughly unimpressed by his answer. So he switches tactics, asking about Yoshido's own party members. The question seems to echo through the entire cavern. He reminds him of Mana and Yuri, the girls from Persephone. A brief memory of Mana's fiery spirit flashes through his mind. Yoshido begs him to stop this incredibly awkward line of questioning. He insists they're here for training, not for relationship advice. Kogura's expression turns serious for just a moment. He calls him out as a classic tsundere, much to Yoshido's rage. Meanwhile, the miners decide to venture deeper into the cave. They find a massive, untouched cluster of magic stones. One of them raises her pickaxe, ready to claim the prize. Her tool strikes the crystal with a brilliant flash of light, but she cries out, her hand stinging from the unexpected impact. She wonders why this particular stone is so impossibly hard, because it's not a stone. It's the guardian of this cave. Yoshido's eyes widen, sensing the sudden, immense danger. The massive golem rises, its eyes burning with red fury. It leaps into the air, a living avalanche of rock and crystal. The impact sends the terrified miners flying across the cavern. The golem stands over them, a silent, menacing sentinel. It gathers its power, ready to finish what it started. It unleashes a volley of razor-sharp crystal shards. The attack rains down on the helpless group of miners. They can only look up in absolute terror. The golem's massive form descends, ready to crush them all. But in a flash of red and black, Yoshido moves in. He positions himself as a human shield, protecting the miners. With a confident smile, he tells them to run for it. The miners are stunned, but relief floods their faces. They don't hesitate, scrambling to safety. But Yoshido's heroic pose falters. He was already hit. He collapses to the ground, his body giving out. He decides that if dying saves someone, it's a worthy trade. The golem looms over him, its red eyes glowing. He remembers watching Kogura, the ideal hero he wants to be. The monster brings its massive leg down for the final blow. He wanted to be just like the Dominator King. He thought conquering towers and getting rich was the goal, but he never knew what came after that. He had no answer for what his true purpose was. But now, something has finally changed. He remembers Kogura's heroic arrival in Persephone, and his own desperate dash to save the miners. He realizes he wants to be a challenger who can save others in a cool way, just like his new mentor. And with that final, noble thought, he is crushed. The system calmly announces another game over. Our boy's favorite screen. A death penalty is applied, a massive hit to his intelligence. But inversion immediately turns that loss into a glorious gain. He now knows what he has to do to reach his ideal, and his eyes burn with a terrifying, newfound purpose. He rises once more, his blade meeting the golem's hide, but its defense is impossibly tough even for him. He wonders how he can possibly win against such a foe. and in his moment of doubt, he realizes his mentor is gone. Kogura is busy playing hero, escorting the miners to safety. The miners' own guards are hesitant to abandon their post, but Kogura assures them the monster is being handled by his partner, who is currently getting his butt kicked. Great teamwork. Yoshito is less than thrilled by this sudden promotion. The golem unleashes another barrage of crystal shards. He becomes a whirlwind of steel, deflecting the deadly attack. But the sheer volume of projectiles is overwhelming. Kogura's voice cuts through the chaos, calling his name. He asks if Yoshito has enough intelligence for this fight. Yoshito is furious, thinking the king is mocking him, but Kogura clarifies he's talking about the INT stat. He tells him to use his new power to observe the enemy and find the secret to the golem's impenetrable defense. With that helpful hint, Kogura leaves him to it. Thanks for nothing, Teach. Yoshito is skeptical, but a new system window appears. It seems his boosted INT has finally reached a new threshold. He's unlocked magic sensing, the ability to perceive magical energy, and magic manipulation, allowing him to control it. He can't believe he's finally unlocked magic-related skills. A sudden realization dawns on him. He remembers the INT boost he got from his last death. A power born from pain, one he will now wield without fear. He activates his new skill, his eye glowing with magical light. And for the first time, he sees the flow of magic around the golem. The skill is unstable, but he knows he just needs to focus. His eyes widen, the new skill revealing the absolute truth. The golem is wrapped in a protective shell of pure magic. He finally understands why it was so impossibly tough. The creature begins to gather energy from its crystal hide. It prepares to unleash a devastating new attack. It draws power from the magic stones all around them. Yoshito's face pales. This is going to be a big one. He dives for cover as the golem fires a massive energy beam. The attack carves a path of destruction through the cavern wall. He knows that seeing the problem doesn't mean he can solve it. But his focus sharpens, a new plan already forming. He notices the shell flickering, becoming unstable. A slow, wicked grin spreads across his face. He's found an opening. He charges forward, ready to put his theory to the test. He promises to strip away its defenses piece by piece and deliver a final, decisive blow. The monster's own attack has weakened its magical armor. The interference has created a temporary vulnerability. His eyes glow. He knows what he has to do. Overload it. The entire cavern is a weapon waiting to be used. He has to flood the area with raw magical power. The golem seems completely oblivious to his new strategy. His blade becomes a blur, shattering the surrounding crystals. He unleashes a storm of slashes against the cavern walls. The air fills with a blizzard of shattered magic stones. His expression is one of grim satisfaction. The cavern is now saturated with pure, untamed energy. The golem's shell dissolves, leaving it completely exposed. Its red eyes burn with a final, desperate fury. Yoshito stands ready, prepared to end this fight for good. He reflects on his new skill, magic manipulation. It can gather energy, but he can't actually use magic. A minor inconvenience. But if all he needs to do is break a shell, then raw, overwhelming power will have to do. His initial assault wasn't strong enough to break through, but now he has a trump card up his sleeve. He calls upon his unique weapon, Phos Animos. It's time to unleash its special skill, Chain Burst. The golem can only watch as the air crackles with power. He unleashes a devastating 7-hit combination. Each successive strike grows even stronger than the last. He channels the ambient energy into his final blow. The more magic in the air, the more powerful his attack becomes. He taunts the golem, ready to return its power with interest. The monster is now surrounded by a storm of its own making. Yoshito becomes a blur of motion, a crimson comet. The golem's eye glows, sensing the impending doom. He declares that in this state, the monster is defenseless. The final strike transforms into something beautiful and deadly. He unleashes the ultimate attack, Enchant Bloom. The golem's magical shell shatters into a million pieces, and his blade finds its mark, cleaving the beast in two. The resulting explosion engulfs the entire cavern. Yoshito is sent flying by the sheer force of the blast. He lands hard, completely drained but victorious. He can only stare at the ceiling. The battle finally over. His mentor looks down, a silent question in his eyes. Yoshito offers a weak smile, confirming he's still alive. Mostly. The two dominators share a thumbs up of mutual respect. Yoshito asks about the miners, and Kogura confirms they're safe. The miners are just relieved that the ordeal is finally over. They look on admiringly as Yoshito waves them off like a true hero, but the ground suddenly erupts with a violent tremor. The entire cavern begins to shake, the danger far from over. And from the depths, a new, far greater threat emerges. a massive metallic serpent with a single glowing eye. Kogura cries out, realizing this is no ordinary monster. The miners can only watch in renewed terror. So much for a safe exit. Yoshido slides back, barely dodging the creature's initial assault. He can't believe the sheer scale of this new enemy. The system identifies it as a steel fracturer. Sounds durable. Yoshido knows a monster with this kind of power is rare. He looks deeper into the cave, a sense of dread growing, and realizes with horror that there isn't just one. Kogura grips his sword, his expression hardening for a real fight. The Dominator King charges forward to meet the challenge. He becomes a blur of motion, his blade ready to strike. He compliments the beast's strength with a confident grin, but the monster warns him it's about to get serious. Kogura knows he can't afford to hold back in this fight. He unleashes his own power, his blade wreathed in fire. A massive wave of flame erupts from his sword. The steel fracturer is completely engulfed in the inferno. Yoshido can only shield his eyes from the overwhelming power, but Kogura's eyes widen in complete disbelief. The creature emerges from the fire without a single scratch. Well, that's not good. Kogura realizes he'll have to rely on pure physical strength. He leaps into the air, channeling all his power into one strike. He meets the massive beast head-on in a daring assault. The impact of his blow shatters the very ground beneath them. Kogura leaps back, the ground still trembling from his strike. He brings his blade down in a devastating overhead blow. But the steel fracturer seems completely unfazed by the attack. It taunts him, saying he's not so easy to defeat, and reveals a new weapon hidden in its segmented tail. Kogura's expression hardens. This fight just got complicated. A series of spinning blades erupt from its body. The Dominator King is surprised by this hidden ace. He's forced to defend against the whirlwind of steel. He parries one of the deadly projectiles, but the relentless assault sends him flying backwards. He cries out Yoshido's name, realizing the danger. Our boy leaps into action, dodging the stray attack. The blade passes harmlessly beneath his feet. He shatters the projectile with a well-timed stomp. He lands on the monster's back, using the chaos as cover. His eyes glow red. He's found its weak point. He plunges his sword directly into the creature's eye. The beast thrashes in agony, sending him flying. Yoshido is caught completely off guard by the violent reaction. He's slammed hard against the cavern wall, but Kogura is there to catch him, breaking his fall. The king apologizes, but Yoshido just brushes it off. Dying is kind of his thing now. They turn their attention back to the wounded beast. The monster's metallic hide begins to crack and crumble. Its armor shatters, falling away in pieces. The steel fracturer lets out a silent, stunned roar. Suddenly, it's engulfed in a storm of green energy. The power crackles around its now exposed body. Yoshido explains this is the penalty for trying to enter a safe zone. The steel fracturer seems confused by the sudden penalty. Yoshido wonders what the creature is planning to do now. It slams its tail into the ground, digging a massive hole. Kogura realizes it's trying to escape to the lower floors. Yoshido questions if that's even possible, given the tower's rules. He understands the danger it would pose to weaker challengers. Kogura knows they can't just let it go. The monster vanishes into the depths of the cavern. The Dominator King confirms the creature has left the floor. He explains that monsters are normally unable to move between levels, but there are rare exceptions for exceptionally powerful beings. He concludes the steel fracturer is one of these anomalies. These creatures are placed in a special category by the Bureau. Yoshido has never heard of such a thing. Kogura prepares to reveal their official designation. They are known as named errors. The name alone is enough to send a chill down Yoshido's spine. Kogura explains this information is classified, known only to a select few. With the lesson over, he gets to his feet. He tells Yoshido it's time for them to head back. They leave the now empty cavern behind them. The two Dominators make their way out of the mining area, but one of the miners he saved calls out to him. She points out that she saw him die just moments ago. Yoshido realizes he has some explaining to do. Awkward. He tries to play it off with a very unconvincing smile. He insists it was all an illusion and he's perfectly fine. The miners seem to be buying his flimsy excuse, until one of them points to the very real bloodstain on the ground. He doubles down, and they're now in awe of his amazing illusion skills. Yoshido tries to find the right words to respond to her gratitude. The miner thanks him again, her voice filled with emotion. He just smiles, saying he's glad they're all safe. His heroic act has clearly won him a few admirers. One of the miners approaches him, her courage building. She asks for his contact info, leaving our boy completely stunned. Elsewhere, Mana and Yuri's danger senses are tingling. Coincidence? I think not. Kogura returns, confirming the evacuation is complete. Yoshido quickly agrees, eager to escape this awkward situation. The miner suggests they should head back now. Kogura teases him, saying he deserves a reward for his bravery. Yoshido insists that wasn't his intention at all. The Dominator King is clearly enjoying his partner's discomfort. Kogura decides it's time to leave via the teleportation gate. A helpful infographic explains the tower's fast travel system. The gates are located every 5 floors in designated safe zones. Once a challenger reaches a gate, it becomes active for them. Kogura confirms that the Steel Fracturer is trapped within the tower. His expression turns grim, understanding the implications. He declares they must return to the Management Bureau. They need to coordinate with Rito to eliminate this irregularity. Back at headquarters, Rito thanks them for their report. She confirms the monster has already claimed victims on lower floors. The Bureau has officially categorized the Steel Fracturer, and with that, all exploration in Proteus is temporarily suspended. Rito declares she will handle the creature herself, but Kogura warns her that even their combined strength wasn't enough. He volunteers to lead the mission in her place. Rito's hand crackles with power, her resolve unshaken. But Yoshido steps forward, volunteering to go as well. Rito draws her own blade, her eyes glowing with power. But Yoshido questions her, asking about the agents already on site. He recalls the Persephone incident, a grim reminder of the Bureau's losses. Rito assures him there's no need to worry this time. Kogura adds that the new team has only just arrived. He gestures for Yoshido to see for himself. This is the Hyuga Squad, an elite task force under the director's command. Kogura teases him for being impressed by the long official title. A squad member reports to her leader, confirming the area is unstable. The leader deduces the monster is resting inside the walls. His gaze is sharp, his mind already on the hunt. He turns, formally recognizing the 2 dominators. Yoshido is a little flustered by the sudden attention. The squad leader's focus is absolute. He bows, thanking them for their cooperation. He admits this is a first-class threat, on par with a final boss, and that their help is needed to minimize casualties. Yoshido questions the very idea of accepting losses, but Kogura declares that with them here, there will be none. Yoshido's expression hardens, inspired by the king's confidence. The squad leader finds this declaration very reassuring. The combined force prepares for the coming battle. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake violently. A squad member confirms the tremor is coming from below. The very floor beneath them begins to crack and shatter. The leader shouts out a command to his squad. He orders them to prepare for immediate combat. The elite challengers draw their weapons, crackling with power. They move into a defensive formation ready for anything. And the Steel Fracturer erupts from the ground, ready for round 2. The Hyuga Squad swarms the massive metallic serpent. They move in perfect sync, a dance of coordinated strikes. But the Steel Fracturer unleashes a volley of sharp projectiles. The squad members parry the assault with practiced ease. But one agent is caught off guard by the sheer speed. His teammates move in, combining their power to block the blow. Kogura notes their flawless teamwork is the squad's trademark. He explains that with this level of skill, mid-bosses are easy prey. But the squad leader knows this is no ordinary monster. The Steel Fracturer moves in a blur of impossible speed, and a squad member is sent flying. So much for that elite training. The leader moves in, his own blade a flash of light. He lands a solid blow against the creature's armored head. The monster reels back, its metallic hide smoking from the impact. Yoshido sees his opening and charges into the fray. He becomes a crimson blur, his sword ready to strike. His blade connects, a shower of sparks against its armor. The beast unleashes another volley of projectiles from its back. Yoshido grits his teeth, barely holding his ground against the storm. The squad leader curses as the monster tries to retreat, but a new challenger arrives, taking the hit head-on. Yoshido looks up, a manic grin spreading across his face. It's Rito Fuyune. Unleashing a whirlwind of her own power, she stands before the beast, vowing it will not escape. Yoshido is stunned. It's been a while since he's seen the chief go all out. Her power comes from perfect magic control and a unique skill. She stands in a field of ice, her unique skill revealed. Frost. Kogura tells Yoshido to watch closely. This is a chance to witness the true speed of the bureau chief. Rito's eyes glow with a cold, absolute power. She moves in a flash, her blade a streak of pure, cold light. Yoshido can only stare, his mind struggling to process her speed. Rito becomes a whirlwind of motion, a dance of ice and steel. Her first strike sends the massive serpent reeling backwards. She holds her ground, her gaze fixed on her cornered prey. The Steel Fracturer recovers, its glowing eye filled with rage. It lunges forward, a blur of metallic fury. But Rito meets the assault head-on, her blade a perfect defense. She unleashes a flurry of slashes, each one impossibly fast. She leaps into the air, dodging a desperate tail whip. Her landing shatters the ground, a wave of frost spreading outwards. The monster is caught in the icy blast, its movements slowing. Rito rockets into the air, preparing the final blow. Her eyes burn with a cold, absolute focus. She brings her sword down, a comet of destructive power. The blade slices deep into the creature's metallic hide. Kogura explains her skill, Rime Ice, pushes her magic to the limit. He calls her a genius, her attack sharp enough to freeze the soul. This, he declares, is the true power of the bureau chief. Her sword glows, a testament to her overwhelming strength. But the monster reveals a new weapon, a storm of whip-like tendrils. Of course it has whips. Its core pulses with a final desperate surge of energy. The tendrils lash out, creating an impenetrable wall of steel. The squad leader curses, unable to find an opening in the assault. The monster slams its tail, trying to escape into the ground again. Rito knows she can't let it get away, but she's pinned down. Suddenly, a flash of red light cuts through the chaos. A new challenger enters the fray, her eyes sharp and focused. She grabs Yoshito, dragging him along for the ride, and leaps over the storm of tendrils, carrying our very confused boy with her. He's dragged through a storm of metallic tendrils. His eyes burn with pain and a terrifying resolve. The system announces his death and a penalty to his vitality. But inversion immediately flips it into a massive buff. He's back, his hand gripping the monster's hide. He knows its wild thrashing will keep everyone else away. But for him, that's just a perfect opening. He vows that even if he dies, he's not letting go. He used his respawn to latch on, but now he needs a plan. The steel fracturer's eye glows with cold, murderous intent. It slams its body against the ground, trying to crush him. Yoshito screams, caught in the high-speed ride from hell. He can barely hold on as the creature moves at impossible speeds. He declares that moving this fast is basically cheating. He grits his teeth, enduring the violent, bone-rattling journey. A brutal impact finally sends him flying, but even in the void, a confident smile touches his lips. He floats for a moment, ready for the next round. The monster's tendrils create an impenetrable defense. Yoshito can only scream that this is the worst possible outcome. The deadly whips find their mark again and again. He can only cry out in pure, unadulterated agony. He begs the creature to stop, his body at its absolute limit. The red-clad challenger asks what he thinks he's doing. She warns the monster not to enter the escape route, but it's too late. The steel fracturer vanishes into the depths. A system window confirms they've reached the upper layer of Proteus. The ground beneath them suddenly shatters and explodes. Yoshito is sent plummeting into the darkness below. He cries out, completely unprepared for the sudden fall. He curses his luck as he continues to fall. He lands hard, his mind racing to catch up. He finds himself in a vast, subterranean cavern. He realizes this isn't just another floor. This is the steel fracturer's nest. Home sweet home, I guess. The monster greets him, its tendrils ready for a fight. It unleashes a storm of deadly projectiles. Yoshito slides across the ground, dodging the initial assault. He knows he can't possibly win this fight alone. His plan is simple. Get the heck out and call for backup. But the monster has no intention of letting him leave. He leaps away, narrowly avoiding a devastating tail whip. He grits his teeth, his escape route cut off. But then he spots a potential exit in the cavern wall. He braces himself, ready to make a desperate dash for it. He screams a warning, a desperate plea for them to flee. He weaves through the storm of steel, a dance with death. He barely avoids another strike, the wind whipping past him. The monster's tendrils create a swirling cage of blades. He keeps his eyes on the prize, the escape route ahead. A confident smirk spreads across his face. He slides under an attack, spotting a momentary opening. He lands a solid blow, a perfectly timed distraction. With a final taunt, he makes his grand exit. He dives into the tunnel, the monster's attack just missing. He tumbles through the darkness, the sound of pursuit fading, and lands back on the upper floor, right where he started. The others can only stare, surprised by his sudden return. Kogura and the red-clad challenger call out his name. Yoshito catches his breath, just glad to be in one piece. Kogura admits he was worried, but knew our boy wouldn't die. But Yoshito has a confident glint in his eye. He made a discovery. The red-clad challenger tells him to report his findings. He reveals he found the steel fracturer's lair on the upper floors. And with their combined strength, they can end this for good. The woman seems to ponder the monster's official name. She asks Yoshito if he noticed any strange magic stones in the nest. He recalls seeing crystals of a different color than the others. With that confirmation, she says everything now makes sense. Yoshito, however, is still completely in the dark. She explains her squad analyzed the creature's structure. It's powered by high-purity magic, but the tower's stones were all impure. She had predicted a hidden area with a purer energy source. The stones Yoshito saw confirmed her theory was correct. She concludes the monster is tied to its nest, unable to leave. Back in the lair, the ground begins to tremble. The steel fracturer is busy eating the magic stones. Yoshito realizes it's refueling its energy for the next round. The Hyuga squad leader struggles to climb up to their position. He finally makes it, and Yoshito offers a very smug, well done. The leader is impressed that a conqueror could climb so easily, just as the rest of the team lands with effortless grace. Awkward. Yoshito offers a comforting pat to the now humbled squad leader. The red-clad woman draws her blade, crackling with energy. She tells them all to give this fight everything they have. The united force prepares to take down their massive target. They charge forward as one, a storm of elite challengers. The team races along the creature's massive metallic back. The steel fracturer thrashes wildly, trying to dislodge them. Kogura declares that as a great conqueror, he can't back down. He declares he can't afford to let anyone else suffer. And with a confident grin, he vows to end this now. He plants his feet, gathering all of his immense power. The Dominator King unleashes his full fiery strength. The steel fracturer can only watch as its doom approaches. Kogura's eyes burn, his blade a comet of pure destruction. The impact sends a shockwave across the entire cavern. Yoshito deflects a stray projectile, his own focus absolute. The massive beast is sent reeling from the powerful blow. Our boy can only watch from below, completely in awe. This is the true power of the Dominator King. But the steel fracturer's eye glows with renewed fury. It unleashes a final, desperate storm of spinning blades. Kogura realizes with horror that his attack wasn't enough. The deadly projectiles rain down on the battlefield. The Hyuga squad is caught in the middle of the assault. They're scattered by the sheer force of the attack. The squad leader struggles to hold his ground. He can't believe he's being overwhelmed by this monster. Yoshito screams a warning as a blade descends from above. A squad member looks up, his eyes wide with terror. The attack lands, a devastating and final blow. Kogura can only watch, a grim look on his face. The red-clad challenger is stunned by the sudden loss. A desperate cry echoes as another agent falls. The squad leader is now trapped, completely surrounded. He grits his teeth, preparing for the inevitable. But Yoshito moves in, a blur of red and black. He deflects the attack, telling the agent not to let his guard down. He tells him there's no time to grieve. The fight is far from over. The red-clad challenger warns him not to die as well. If he falls, there will be no one left to honor their sacrifice. The squad leader looks down at his fallen comrade. He agrees, his hand trembling near the aftermath. Yoshito's expression hardens. He vows to see this through. He leaps back into the fray, deflecting another deadly strike. He and Kogura admit that the enemy's assault is overwhelming. The king asks for a strategy, but they're fresh out of ideas. But from the shadows, a new power makes its presence known. A massive wave of ice energy sweeps across the battlefield. A surviving agent can only stare in absolute disbelief. Another is filled with regret over his own weakness. He believes if he were stronger, his friends would still be alive. Yoshito recognizes the newcomer, calling her the director. Of course, the final boss shows up. The director acknowledges him with a simple, quiet word. She stands wreathed in power, promising to make things right. Her eyes glow with a cold, otherworldly light. The female agent looks on as the director offers an apology. The male agent is still lost in his own grief and regret. He repeats that no one would have been hurt if he was stronger. Yoshito is still trying to process her sudden arrival. The director confirms her identity without a second thought. She readies her blade, ready to atone for the losses. Her gaze is fixed, her purpose absolute and unwavering. She faces the steel fracturer and its storm of blades. She becomes a blur of motion, weaving through the assault. She dodges a spinning projectile with impossible grace. Her movements are a beautiful and deadly dance of ice. Her eyes are locked on the target, her focus unbreakable. She unleashes a massive arc of frost, ready to end this fight. The director meets the storm of steel head-on. Her blade deflects each tendril with impossible grace. She finds herself at the very center of the assault, and carves a path through with a flurry of icy slashes. She dives down, a comet of pure cold fury. Her attack lands with the force of a glacier. The impact shatters the ground and the monster's armor. She declares that she's taking its head. No arguments. She summons a massive blade of ice for the final blow. The steel fracturer can only watch its doom descend. The director's eyes glow, her focus absolute. The blade of frost comes crashing down. The monster's eye reflects its own destruction. Her hand never wavers as she drives the attack home. A massive explosion of ice energy engulfs the beast. Its massive tail is severed, crashing to the ground. Yoshito can only watch, calling out the director's name. Her sword stands planted, a monument to her power. Yoshido looks at his own blade, feeling a little inadequate. He knows his sword alone isn't strong enough for this. But one infused with her magic would be a different story. The wounded beast turns its attention to a new target. Yoshido's eyes glow, offering himself as bait. The monster looms over him, ready to take the offer. A flash of light signals a desperate high-speed clash. Yoshido admits he can't match the director's speed, but he now wields a new, powerful weapon. He knows there's only one way to ensure victory, and it involves a plan that is equal parts brilliant and insane. The system confirms the insane part of his plan worked perfectly. The system confirms a massive penalty to his strength, but inversion turns that debuff into a glorious power-up. His respawn point is set, his grand re-entrance is ready. The director admits she would never normally approve of such a reckless plan, but Yoshido is already there, respawning directly in the monster's face. The steel fracturer is completely stunned by his sudden return. Yoshido's eyes burn with power, ready to end this fight. He becomes a blur, weaving around the massive serpent. His blade, now infused with the director's magic, unleashes a blinding light. He slides under a desperate tail whip, his focus absolute. Kogura can only watch, a bead of sweat on his brow. The surviving squad member is stunned by this impossible feat. His female comrade is equally speechless, her mission forgotten. The director stands alone, her power now in Yoshido's hands. His final decisive blow lands with devastating force. The impact sends a shockwave across the entire cavern. The director stands in the quiet aftermath, the battle finally over. She offers a quiet word of thanks to our boy. She looks down, remembering the agents who didn't make it. The surviving squad members know their sacrifice was not in vain. Yoshido agrees, his own part in the victory now clear. But a sudden system notification catches him off guard. His eyes widen, trying to process the message. The system confirms the boss of Proteus has been defeated. He turns to the director, asking what this could possibly mean. She closes her eyes, the final piece of the puzzle clicking into place. She recalls her earlier assessment of the tower, admitting her mistake. Proteus was hiding its true nature by having its boss roam the floors. Yoshido struggles to grasp the full implication of her words. The director confirms it. The steel fracturer was the tower's final boss all along. Kogura offers a comforting hand to the defeated squad leader. Yoshido admits that despite his confidence, victory came at a heavy price. He looks on, a new resolve hardening in his eyes. The system announces the tower's collapse, but Yoshido only has one thought: to get stronger. He stands in the fading light, vowing to become more than he is. And with that, the magic tower Proteus vanishes from the world. Back at the bureau, the two dominators report to the director. Yoshido presents the unique reward from the tower to Rito. She recognizes the one-of-a-kind equipment from Proteus. But our boy isn't done. He also offers up the massive haul of magic stones. Rito's deadpan expression asks if this is some kind of joke. It is not. Yoshido explains that this victory was a team effort, and it wouldn't be right for him to keep all the rewards. He's entrusting everything to the bureau, with Kogura's blessing. He asks her to use the funds to support other challengers. As they leave, a new figure blocks their path. It's the squad leader, who introduces himself as Ryudo. He explains that he has a special request for them. With the raid on the Zeus Tower approaching, his squad is being deployed. But the last battle showed him just how weak he truly is. He clenches his fist, vowing not to lose another comrade. His voice cracks with desperation and resolve. He bows deeply before Yoshido, a shocking display of humility. He begs the boy who can't die to train him. Well, that's a new one. A month passes, the calm before the storm. Inside the Bureau's training facility, the grind has begun. Ryudo's eyes burn with a new intensity, his focus absolute. He moves in a blur, his speed honed by weeks of training, but his attack is met by a familiar, powerful blade. Kogura effortlessly parries the entire squad's assault with a confident grin. Ryudo roars, putting all his strength into the attack, but his squadmate's assault is easily deflected. Kogura seems to be enjoying this a little too much. Even Yoshido's overhead strike is met with ease. Our boy can only grit his teeth at the king's power. Their blades meet in a shower of sparks and fury. The Dominator King handles the entire squad without breaking a sweat. The training room becomes a whirlwind of motion. Yoshido is pushed back, his defense starting to crumble. Ryudo slides across the floor, his attack completely nullified. Kogura declares that they are all still far too soft. He challenges them to come at him with everything they have. This all started with Ryudo's desperate plea to Yoshido. Our boy tried to refuse, saying he was still training himself. But Ryudo saw the Proteus battle as proof of his methods. He grabbed Yoshido, his desperation clear. He demanded to undergo the same brutal training regimen. Personal space is not his strong suit. Yoshido could only try to fend off the overeager squad leader, but Kogura stepped in, offering to train them both. He vowed to whip them into shape before the Zeus raid, and for the past month, that's exactly what they've been doing. Yoshido knows his skills have improved dramatically, but he feels he can never close the gap with Kogura. The Dominator King is just on another level entirely. The two of them charge forward for another hopeless assault. Kogura's expression turns serious for a moment. He admits that compatibility can be more important than raw power, but for now, raw power is all that matters in this room. He stands before them, his own energy beginning to flare. He declares it's time to dominate this training session with fire. Kogura notes that their coordination has certainly improved, but Ryudo grumbles that it means nothing if they can't win. The king explains that beating him isn't the point of this training. Ryudo admits it's still frustrating, and Kogura tells him to just work harder. With the training session over, they head out into the bureau lobby. Yoshido glances back at the crowds of other challengers. His eyes widen as he spots a new announcement. A massive screen confirms the Zeus operation is now accepting volunteers. Kogura looks on, a grim understanding on his face. It's finally time. Ryudo clenches his fist, his resolve hardening. He vows that this time, he will protect his squad. The scene shifts to the volunteer examination venue for the Zeus raid. An official explains the director will personally assess all volunteers. A man in a suit calls for the first two challengers to step forward. Yuri appears, confirming that Yoshito told her everything. Mana stands opposite her, ready to see how much stronger she's become. The two former party members face off, ready to test their new skills. The great magic sky tower, Zeus, looms over the entire city. Back in the tower, Yoshito and Kogura stand on the 60th floor. They make their way through the bustling frontline conquest camp. The area is filled with challengers preparing for the raid. Kogura notes the crowd, and Yoshito explains it's a mix of raiders and support. The two of them walk through the massive makeshift base. Yoshido looks around, wondering where Ryudo and his squad are. Kogura figures the Hyuka squad is probably deeper in the tower. He jokes that he can't die until they meet again, but Yoshido can. The two of them share a laugh, a rare light moment before the battle. But a nearby challenger is not amused by their attitude. He grumbles that they're being far too relaxed for this mission, and he storms over to confront the two punks. This should be fun. He tells them to get lost if they think this is some kind of game. Kogura and Yoshido are completely unfazed by his outburst. The man immediately regrets his decision. Bad move, buddy. The Zeus Tower is a colossal dungeon, with 59 floors already conquered. But then everything changed on the 60th floor. The sheer number of casualties forced the Bureau to intervene. The challenger from before wonders what caused so many deaths. The answer lies in the deadly heatwave zone up ahead. Even from a distance, the oppressive heat is palpable. Kogura explains that the area inflicts constant damage over time. Their only hope is to push through with constant healing magic. With the plan set, Kogura rallies the other challengers. He calls for everyone to work together to survive. The man from before now leads the charge, organizing the raid party. But Yoshido realizes healing magic could be a death sentence for him. He hasn't told anyone about inversion, and now is not the time. He looks out at the deadly zone, a new idea forming. What if the heat wave is treated as a status ailment? As he steps forward, a system window appears. It confirms the heat wave status effect is now active. An inversion works its magic, turning damage into constant healing. He smirks, realizing he doesn't need a healer at all. Kogura looks on, wondering what our boy is so happy about. He declares he's resistant and will scout the path ahead. The rest of the party can only stare in complete disbelief. And with that, he dashes off into the deadly heat. He admits his exit was a bit dramatic, but it was the only way to hide his unique ability. Suddenly, his scouting mission is violently interrupted. An unseen enemy lands a devastating surprise attack. He's left in a crater, his scouting mission ending in spectacular failure. The pain is real, but the shock of the ambush is even greater. He looks up to see three robed figures, an unwelcome welcoming party. But his body begins to glow. Death is just a minor inconvenience. He's back on his feet, ready to return the favor. One of the robed assassins lunges forward with a strange blade. The three of them descend at once in a coordinated assault. But Yoshido weaves through their attacks, a blur of crimson light. The two on the ground close in, their movements impossibly fast. He smirks, remembering the month of hellish training he just endured. He declares that this time he won't be going down so easily. His blade carves a massive arc through the air. He gets a better look at their forms, noticing their golden wings. The system identifies them as the Holy Assassination Squad, so not angels. Bummer. He admits that assassins in a heatwave zone is a strange combination, but he decides it doesn't matter and charges in anyway. His blade meets theirs in a shower of sparks and fury. The assassin's weapon is a strange, star-shaped blade. A massive energy slash comes right for his head. His expression is a perfect mix of shock and, "Are you kidding me?" The assassin notes that a month ago, that attack might have worked, but now, Yoshido deflects it with a single powerful parry. The robed figure seems to acknowledge his newfound strength. Yoshito admits these Zeus Tower monsters are on another level. He's forced back, the sheer power of their attacks overwhelming. He looks up to see the assassin suddenly retreating. He reaches out, confused by their sudden change of heart. He wonders if they're actually running away from the fight, but his eyes narrow. He knows it's not that simple. He plants his feet, sensing the real battle is about to begin. He realizes this isn't a retreat, it's a trap. The assassins have vanished, luring him deeper into the heatwave zone. The air itself seems to shimmer with oppressive heat, but he knows he can't afford to hesitate now. His instincts scream a warning as they descend from above. He looks up, his eyes wide with surprise. A blade finds its mark, a searing line of pain. But he counters, his own blade meeting the assault head-on. As the assassin falls, it drops something small and shiny. He recognizes it as a magic stone, but something is different. A dawning horror spreads across his face. This is no ordinary loot. The stone erupts in a massive, fiery explosion. He realizes they're using the magic stones as grenades. He desperately tries to parry the explosive projectiles, but the sheer force of the blast overwhelms him. He's sent tumbling across the scorched earth. The assassins prepare another volley of their deadly weapons. He's pinned down, trapped in a storm of explosions. His patience has finally officially run out. A final massive blast consumes him completely, and the system calmly announces another game over. Business as usual. The penalty is applied, a massive debuff to his strength, but inversion works its magic, turning loss into a power-up. He's back on his feet, his eyes burning with newfound power. The robed figure seems to loom over him, unimpressed. The entire squad closes in for the final kill, but his movements are now faster, more precise. He unleashes a devastating strike, his blade glowing red. But the assassins reveal another trick: spectral duplicates. He meets its gaze, his own resolve unshaken by the illusion. He parries the assassin's attack, his newfound strength on full display. With a single strike, he shatters the spectral duplicate. But he knows this fight is far from over. A confident smirk spreads across his face. He's just getting started. He declares it's time to return that explosive death with interest. His attack shatters the assassin's defenses completely, and he claims they're explosive magic stones for himself. Finders keepers, I guess. He unleashes a devastating kick, a taste of their own medicine. He tosses one of the stones back, a very special delivery. The resulting explosion engulfs the entire area. He's caught in the blast, but his plan is in motion. He looks at the minor burns covering his arm. But inversion quickly heals the damage using the heat wave. With the assassins dealt with, he turns to the bigger problem. He looks deeper into the cavern, spotting the source of the heat. The entire area is a minefield of explosive magic stones. A wicked grin spreads across his face. He has an idea. If he destroys the source, the heat wave itself will disappear. He unleashes a storm of slashes, triggering a chain reaction. The cavern erupts in a series of massive explosions. The very ground shakes from the force of his attack. Back with the main party, the challengers feel the violent tremor. The man from before curses, wondering what's happening. A young healer nervously agrees, clutching her staff tightly. The entire raid party is on edge, their formation faltering. The healer looks exhausted, the constant magic taking its toll. She's told to stop resting and prepare the next spell. The aggressive challenger reminds her their lives are in her hands. No pressure. Another raider tries to calm him, noting the pressure she's under. Kogura looks on, realizing the party's morale is about to shatter. Kogura knows that if a monster attacks now, they're all finished. And right on cue, a flash of red signals an ambush. A challenger screams as one of the party's healers is struck down. Another healer rushes to her fallen comrade's side, but the aggressive challenger grabs her arm, stopping her. He holds her tightly, his priorities made painfully clear. He demands she heal the fighters, not another support. What a team player. He shoves her aside, his point brutally made. And a winged assassin descends to finish the job. The two can only look up in absolute terror, but Kogura is already moving, a blur of red light. He cuts down the monster with a single, decisive strike, but it seems the assassin brought a few friends. Kogura realizes they've been surrounded the entire time. Another challenger falls, his cries for help unanswered. The Dominator King knows their morale is about to break. At this rate, the entire raid party will be wiped out. But from the flames, a familiar figure emerges. Kogura calls out his name. Yoshido has returned. The aggressive challenger scoffs, asking if he needs a heal. Yoshido just smirks, calling the idea useless. The man's confusion is written all over his face. A silent countdown begins, the final seconds ticking away. The healers can only watch, their own fight forgotten. The timer hits 0, and Yoshido's grin widens. The entire heatwave zone behind him simply vanishes. Kogura is impressed by his partner's dramatic entrance. He admits that with Yoshido, life is never boring. Yoshido turns to the man who mocked him, asking if he's still useless. The challenger can only admit that our boy just saved them all. Kogura tells his partner to use this momentum to push forward. The two dominators share a fist bump of perfect understanding. For the next few floors, the deadly heatwave continued. But with Yoshido clearing the path, the squad advanced without a single loss. They soon arrive in a new torch-lit section of the tower. A vast, silent chamber stretches out before them. But from behind a massive door, a heavy chain begins to rattle. The stone itself groans as something powerful pushes from the other side. 3 pairs of glowing red eyes peer from the darkness. A massive, 3-headed beast strains against its magical bonds. The party continues on, leaving the chained monster behind. Kogura's expression hardens, his focus absolute. They've finally arrived on the 65th floor of the Zeus Tower. Yoshido takes in the new surroundings, a sense of unease growing. A new transfer gate activates. A welcome sight for the weary challengers. Kogura notes, this will make traveling between floors much easier. But first he knows they need to regroup. He decides the rest of the party needs to rest at the camp below. The aggressive challenger is completely drained, wondering how they're still standing. Yoshido ponders the question, a knowing look on his face. It's a real mystery. Kogura looms over them, a terrifying vision of boundless energy. The challenger is terrified, but Yoshido is completely unimpressed. He tells the exhausted raiders to take a well-deserved break. He and Kogura will scout the path ahead on their own. Kogura assures the others there's no need to worry about their strength. Yoshido adds that the Hyuga squad will be there to support them. And right on cue, Ryudo and his team finally arrive. He reports that the remaining monsters on the lower floors have been eliminated. With the rear guard securing resources, his squad is free to help. The Hyuga squad is now ready to join the front lines. Yoshido offers a confident smirk, noting their perfect timing. He and Ryudo share a fist bump, their new alliance solidified. The rest of the raid party can only look on, completely exhausted. The newly formed elite team ventures deeper into the tower. A challenger notes the lack of a heat wave, thinking it's a good sign. But Ryudo warns that a sudden change often means greater danger. He explains that these transitional floors often hide a mid-boss. Yoshido looks back, a bead of sweat on his brow. Kogura tells Ryudo to protect his subordinates this time. The words land with the weight of their past failure. A massive, ornate door groans open before them. The combined force steps forward to face the new challenge. Yoshido can only sigh, wondering what fresh hell awaits. He knows the tower will just keep throwing monsters at them. From the darkness, a pair of red eyes stare back. A massive, 3-headed beast strains against its magical chains. The system identifies it as an Annihilate Hydra. Sounds friendly. Ryudo orders his squad to prepare for immediate combat. One of the beast's heads lets out a deafening roar, and with a surge of power, it shatters its restraints. Yoshido wonders why the monster was chained up in the first place. The Hyuga squad leaps into the fray, a blur of motion. But the Hydra's massive tail sends them all flying. As it falls, it drops a strange, glowing device. The massive beast crashes to the floor, seemingly defeated. But Yoshido senses that something is terribly wrong. Ryudo looks back, watching the monster's body begin to glow. Its foot crushes a strange cluster on the floor, and the Annihilate Hydra rises once more, fully restored. Yoshido realizes with horror that the creature can regenerate. He realizes the chains were the only thing holding it back. And now the beast is finally free to unleash its full power. Ryudo stands his ground, facing the 3-headed nightmare. Yoshido cries out his name, a warning in his voice. But Ryudo charges forward, declaring he's no longer weak. The rest of the Hyuga squad moves in to support their leader. His eyes glow with resolve. He vows he will not die this time. The squad prepares to meet the monster's assault head-on. He roars that he won't let his subordinates fall either, a promise forged in fire. The Hydra seems completely unimpressed by their bravado. Ryudo declares his team has been training for this very moment. The beast's heads begin to gather a terrifying magical energy. The Hyuga squad leaps into a coordinated attack, a whirlwind of steel. They move as one, their movements honed to perfection. Their combined assault creates a web of light around the beast. Kogura and Yoshido watch, impressed by their new level of skill. The Dominator King decides it's time to join the party. He and Yoshido charge in, ready to lend their power to the fight. But the Hydra's gaze is fixed, its power absolute. Yoshido notices the stump of its neck is already healing, but the other wounds on its body remain untouched. He suggests they focus their attacks away from the necks. Kogura knows that just scratching its hide won't be enough to win. He decides they need to find the source of its regeneration. He leaps onto the monster's back, ready for a closer look. He declares he'll cut off its head again to test his theory. The Hydra's foot once again crushes the strange mass on the floor. Ryudo's eyes widen, finally noticing the strange object. Kogura tells him to use his magic perception to see the truth. Yoshido activates his own skill, his eyes glowing with magical light. He sees a massive flow of magic into the severed neck. His skill reveals 3 magic cores fueling the regeneration. Kogura knows there's only one way to stop it. The 2 Dominators leap forward to crush the cores. The Hydra lets out a furious, defiant roar. It spreads its wings, preparing a counterattack. Yoshido's focus is absolute, his eyes on the prize. The Hyuga squad joins the assault from below. 2 of its heads begin to gather dark, crackling energy. It unleashes a devastating barrage of magical projectiles. The 2 are forced back, the assault too intense to break through. But Yoshido notices the discarded chains on the floor. One of the collars glows with a unique red engraving. He realizes one of the heads has been holding back. Its true power was sealed by a much stronger restraint. He connects the red collar to the central silent head. The Hydra suddenly takes to the air in a blur. It hovers above them, a terrifying silhouette. The central head finally reveals its power, a massive fireball. Guess it was saving the best for last. Yoshido and Kogura can only look on, bracing for the impact. The Hyuga squad is frozen, stunned by the sheer power. He understands this is the monster's true final attack. The Hydra prepares to unleash its full, unrestrained fury. The blast of fire and shadow descends upon them. The attack erupts into a storm of dark, crackling tendrils. Ryudo screams for his squad to evade at all costs. The entire party leaps away as the floor shatters beneath them. Yoshido realizes the lightning is spreading across the room, but he notices something strange about the energy. The lightning seems to be avoiding the pillars. Ryudo's eyes widen, a dawning horror on his face. The Hyuga squad leaps between the pillars, trying to stay off the floor, but the lightning's power is too great, catching them in its paralyzing grip. Yoshido finally understands the monster's true, insidious goal. Kogura plants his sword, enduring the electrical assault. Yoshido grits his teeth, the energy coursing through him. A squad member can only scream as his body locks up. Yoshido knows the pain is immense, but it's not a fatal blow. He believes that at this rate everyone else should be but a sudden realization cuts his thoughts short. The entire Hyuga squad is down, completely immobilized. They can only lie there wondering what's happening to them. A system window appears, offering a grim explanation. The attack inflicts severe lightning paralysis, a total loss of movement. But inversion works its magic, nullifying the status effect for him. Even Kogura is trapped, his movements completely sealed by the magic. Yoshido realizes that to fight this thing, he's the only one left who can move. He stands alone against the 3-headed beast. The Hydra prepares to finish off his helpless comrades. He knows he can't possibly cut off its heads by himself. Besides, his own safety is the last thing on his mind. If the monster aims its attacks at Kogura or the squad, he knows it will be a complete and utter massacre. He leaps in, landing a solid kick to draw its attention. The Hydra turns, unleashing its full fury on him instead. He's hit head-on by the massive blast of energy, but he roars, vowing he won't let it touch his friends. The attack slams into the ground, a devastating explosion of power. The system calmly announces another game over, right on schedule. The system confirms a massive penalty to his health. An inversion turns it into another welcome power-up. The Hydra prepares to unleash another devastating blast. But Yoshido is back on his feet, meeting the attack head-on. He's sent flying, but the beast seems to recoil as well. Another death, another stat boost. This is becoming a very efficient training method. He stands before the beast once more, an unbreakable wall. But from the entrance, a wave of blue energy erupts. Yuri arrives, declaring she'll handle this. And she's not alone. Mana is right beside her. The old party is back together. Mana leaps into the air, a whirlwind of acrobatic fury. She dives down, aiming for one of the Hydra's heads. Her eyes glow with a fierce, newfound confidence. She unleashes a binding attack, a web of pure energy. The attack finds its mark, trapping the thrashing beast. The Hydra is momentarily stunned by the coordinated assault. Ryudo can only watch, completely stunned by their arrival. Yoshido struggles to deflect the monster's next attack. but Yuri tells him not to worry. She gathers her power, her new staff glowing brightly, and unleashes a massive torrent of purifying water. Her spell collides with the Hydra's dark energy. The two forces meet in a blinding explosion of light. The Hydra is engulfed in the magical backlash. The wounded beast retreats, its assault finally broken. The girls land beside a stunned Yoshido, asking how they did. They're clearly proud of the promise they made to get stronger. Yoshido can only ask how they even got here. Mana explains they volunteered and got the director's permission to join him. Yuri looks on, a little embarrassed by all the attention. Yoshido looks on, his focus absolute. Mana declares they're no longer a burden to him. He remembers their promise, their vow to get stronger, and the painful memory of feeling like a liability. They swore they would return, ready to stand by his side. He looks at them now, seeing that promise fulfilled. A confident smile spreads across his face. He knows they're more than strong enough for this fight. He quickly explains the new plan: destroy the magic cores. He tells Yuri to use her magic perception to find them. Her eyes glow, revealing the three sources of its power. She confirms their location, asking if he can handle the rest. Yuri's gaze hardens. She's got this covered. Guess that training paid off. She gathers a massive torrent of purifying water. The Hydra recoils, its severed neck still bleeding. Her focus is absolute, her eyes locked on the target. She unleashes a concentrated blast of pure magic. The Hydra's central head can only watch its doom approach. The attack pierces straight through the monster's hide. A massive hole is torn in its chest, one core destroyed. Yoshido knows its regeneration is finally sealed. The wounded beast takes to the air, preparing a final assault. It gathers the same paralyzing energy as before. The girls move as one, ready to intercept the attack. The Hydra unleashes its storm of fire and lightning. Yoshido realizes it's about to fire again. The devastating attack descends upon the chamber, but Yuri declares she's faster this time. Her own spell meets the monster's head-on. The Hydra is sent crashing to the ground, overwhelmed. Ryudo can only watch, wishing his paralysis would wear off sooner. But he forces himself up, his will shattering the magical bonds. Yoshido looks back, stunned by the squad leader's recovery. Mana cries out, trying to stop his reckless charge. But Ryudo's focus is absolute, his eyes burning with resolve. A small, confident smile touches his lips. He unleashes his own power, a storm of dark energy. The attack slams into the ground with devastating force. He stands in the aftermath, his new power on full display. He declares that this time he can finally protect his squad. Yuri can only watch, caught off guard by his sudden power-up. Mana is equally stunned by this unexpected turn of events. Yoshido screams his name, sensing the immense danger, but his heroic charge ends with him being blasted into a wall. So much for that power-up. He slides down the stone, his momentum completely broken. The Hydra unleashes another devastating attack. The very ground shatters from the sheer force of the blast. Ryudo lies broken, his desperate gamble having failed. The Hydra looms over him, its power still absolute. Yoshido's expression hardens into one of pure, unadulterated rage. He stands before Kogura's massive blade, planted like a shield. The Dominator King is still paralyzed, but his eyes are open. Kogura can only watch, helpless to join the fight. The rest of the Hyuga squad slowly begins to recover. Yoshido knows that Ryudo's sacrifice wasn't just for show. It was a desperate gambit to buy them precious time. He turns to the Dominator King, a new plan forming. He asks if Kogura can sever the beast's head one last time. Kogura closes his eyes, gathering what little strength he has. He roars in agreement, ready to unleash one final decisive strike. Yoshido kicks off the ground, launching himself into the air. He uses Kogura's massive sword as a makeshift launch pad. He and Mana become twin comets, hurtling towards the beast. The Hydra gathers its power for one final desperate blast. It unleashes a torrent of dark energy across the floor. But Yuri's eyes glow, her own magic ready to counter. She unleashes a massive vortex of purifying water. The party's healer stands as a wall against the darkness. The Hydra reels back, its attack completely nullified. With the path now clear, Yoshido closes in on his target. Mana moves in from the other side, her eyes glowing with power. Her focus is absolute, her attack perfectly timed. The two of them strike as one, a perfectly coordinated assault. Teamwork makes the dream work, I guess. Yoshido roars, vowing this monster will never rise again. His blade plunges deep into the final magic core. The source of its power shatters into a million pieces. The Annihilate Hydra finally falls, its reign of terror over. But elsewhere, a powerful being senses its servant's demise. A veiled goddess demands to know who is responsible. Well, that can't be good. Back in the chamber, the squad gathers around their fallen leader. One of the agents, Takemichi, cries out Ryudo's name. Ryudo's eyes flutter open, his life fading fast. Takemichi begs him to hold on, his face a mask of grief. Ryudo offers a weak smile, saying he was ready for this. He seems almost surprised that he's still breathing. He speaks of resting, his hand reaching out one last time. Takemichi holds him, tears streaming down his face. Ryudo closes his eyes, his final words a promise to stand again. But his hand falls limp, his promise unfulfilled. Takemichi can only scream, his leader gone for good. The veiled goddess senses a familiar divine power, a power she knows by only one name: infinite resurrection. She reaches out in reverence, calling out to her long-lost god. A slow, knowing smile spreads across her face. She believes that at long last, they can finally be reunited. Back at the 60th floor camp, a medical tent has been set up. Inside, Yoshido stands vigil over his fallen comrade. He looks down at the squad leader, his expression grim. Ryudo is alive but unconscious and fighting for his life. Yoshido leaves the tent, the weight of the battle on his shoulders. The rest of the Hyuga squad waits, asking for news. He explains that while Ryudo's wounds are healed, he's still in a coma. Takemichi can only be grateful that their leader is still alive. He prays for his friend to wake up soon. The squad turns to Yoshito, wondering what his next move will be. They suggest he take a break from the front lines to recover. But Yoshito immediately refuses. He knows that if he stops now, Ryudo would only blame himself. He forces a smile, vowing to push forward in his friend's name. Elsewhere, the veiled goddess prepares to make her move. She summons her elite unit, the Sacred Assassination Squad. She can't believe her god is hiding among lowly humans. Her eyes burn with a possessive, dangerous fury. She orders her followers to clear a path through the mortals. She will use their deaths to manifest her own divine authority. Her laughter echoes, a promise of the chaos to come. She seems nice. Meanwhile, the former heatwave zone is now a bustling mining site. 2 bureau agents observe the smooth resource recovery operation. The lead agent notes the vast wealth hidden within the tower. With the monsters gone, the operation is proceeding without a hitch. One agent hopes for a safe mission, but her partner warns her to stay vigilant. The veteran agent knows that in the tower, the unexpected is always guaranteed. Right on cue, a massive tremor shakes the ground, catching the rookie completely off guard. The senior agent barks an order to move and her partner scrambles to follow. They dash through the cavern, but the veteran agent suddenly stops in her tracks. She senses a new presence, something she's never encountered before in this tower. Her expression hardens as she realizes this isn't just a random monster spawn. Suddenly, the entire cavern is bathed in a brilliant, ominous golden light from above. She realizes with dawning horror that these new monsters are specifically targeting them. The woman's personal assassination squad descends, launching a swift and deadly assault on the unsuspecting agents. The veteran agent draws her weapon, her cold gaze fixed on the new threat. Her eyes narrow with focus. She's not about to let her subordinate fall on her watch. The rookie can only scream her superior's title, realizing they've stumbled into a high-level ambush. The holy assassins dive in, a perfectly coordinated assault meant to overwhelm them instantly. But their attack is met by a strange web of energy, trapping one of the assassins in place. A new challenger arrives, creating a barrier of red light to hold back the relentless assault. He calls out to the director, confirming the situation is finally under control. But the director just turns away, completely unimpressed by the so-called elite assassins. Her expression hardens as she realizes this is just the beginning of a much larger problem. A report comes in. An angelic scoundrel is rampaging across the entire 60th floor, and the raiders need an immediate rescue. The director calmly asks her subordinate to lend a hand with the cleanup. He leaps into the fray, his blade a blur as he intercepts the angelic assassins. One of the holy warriors dives in, ready to test the Bureau's elite defender. But his sword meets the attack head-on, a perfect block against the golden blade. He holds his ground against the squad, but the director decides to cut this short. She launches herself forward, a blur of motion that outpaces even the assassins. With a single sweeping strike, she effortlessly dismantles their coordinated attack. Her blade becomes a storm of light, cutting through the entire holy squad in an instant. She walks away without a second glance, leaving a trail of vanquished foes in her wake. Her subordinate can only smile, completely impressed by the director's overwhelming power. A bureau agent reports in, his expression grim. Yoshido arrives to find a scene of utter devastation. A female agent confirms the chaos is spreading rapidly. They realize they were attacked on all fronts at once. A new challenger explains he left his post to find the director. The agent's eyes narrow, grasping the dire situation. He joins the fray, fighting alongside other defenders. A miner curses, realizing the safe zone was a lie. The winged assassin moves with impossible speed. It descends upon the helpless challenger, blade ready. The man can only accept his inevitable end, but a flash of red light cuts through the chaos. The assassin is cut down in a single decisive strike. Yoshido appears, telling them they can talk later. He gathers the survivors, leading them to safety. He guides the small group through the dangerous cavern. He worries, hoping Kogura's team is holding the line. The weight of leadership is clearly taking its toll. They finally approach the relative safety of the camp. Yoshido offers a tired but relieved smile. Kogura and Yuri are waiting for his return. Yuri calls out his name, her face full of relief. He tells the survivors they're almost home free. Famous last words, but a massive blast erupts from behind them. He turns, sensing two new, powerful threats. His eyes widen in horror as he realizes his mistake. It's not just two new enemies. It's an entire army of the winged assassins. His friends can only scream for him to run, but Yoshido is frozen, caught in the descending light. He meets the first assassin's strike, holding the line. He screams for the others to run, buying them precious time. The survivors can only look back in stunned horror. One of them offers a weak apology before fleeing for his life. But from the chaos, a new challenger joins the fight. A girl with blonde and pink hair dives into the fray. She lands beside another young fighter, ready for battle. But the assassins are everywhere, towering over the escapees. A small group of challengers stands against the impossible odds. The blonde girl and a blue-haired companion stand back to back. Yoshido watches the new arrivals, his mind racing. He has no idea who these winged creatures are. The sacred assassination squad stands ready to deliver judgment. Suddenly, a brilliant light fills the cavern. It erupts into a massive, blinding explosion. Kogura recognizes it as a transfer gate. A very aggressive one. Yoshido knows they can't possibly win a direct fight. But a small, determined smile touches his lips. This is an invitation he can't possibly refuse. He stands with his friends, ready to accept the challenge. Kogura declares he's ready anytime, ever the showman. The blonde girl steels her own resolve, vowing to fight. Yoshido offers a silent look of encouragement. Kogura's grin widens. It's time for a real fight. The four of them prepare to charge into the unknown. The gate transports them to a grand, palatial hall. A massive explosion of light signals their arrival. The team stands together, ready for whatever comes next. A new overwhelming aura of power fills the room. Yoshido's eyes widen, sensing the true master of this floor. A voice welcomes him to his final judgment. They've been transported to the 150th floor of the tower. Before them sits the heavenly mentor, ruler of this domain. The others realize they're in the chamber of rulers. Yoshido confirms their worst fears. This is the boss room. From the massive figure, a new woman emerges. Yoshido's instincts scream that something is terribly wrong. She scans the room, unable to find her so-called god. But a divine light suddenly emanates from Yoshido's chest. Her eyes lock onto him, her expression darkening. She demands to know why he possesses her god's power. Yoshido has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. Seems to be a theme for him. A terrifying, possessive smile spreads across her face. She declares a mortal is unworthy and sends her guardian to attack. Yoshido can only stare as the massive hand descends. The party scatters, dodging the devastating blow. But the hand comes right back, its target locked on our boy. He's caught, his body trapped in an unbreakable grip. She vows to crush his body and shatter his very spirit. Her goal, to reclaim the power of infinite revival. Her face contorts with a fanatical, unholy rage. Yoshido screams, the pressure becoming unbearable. His vision blurs, his consciousness fading from the agony. The hand releases him, his broken form sent plummeting. He falls through the air completely helpless. But the hand catches him again, ready for the final blow. This is the worst game of catch ever. A final, brutal impact signals the end of this life. The system calmly announces another game over. His friends can only scream his name in horror. A penalty is applied, but inversion turns it into a power-up. He gasps, the phantom pain of his last death still fresh. But he's back on his feet, panting but very much alive. The heavenly mentor explains his power has a price. She believes a mortal body can't handle infinite revival. Yoshido realizes she's talking about the death penalty. She prepares to test that theory with a new divine assault. A brilliant flash of golden light fills the entire chamber. The Guardian unleashes a volley of deadly energy beams. His friends scatter, dodging the relentless attack. But Yoshido is caught in the blinding golden onslaught. He struggles to his feet, knowing he's the primary target. The ground cracks under the sheer force of the divine assault. He leaps forward, vowing to end this fight immediately. But the mentor summons a new weapon, golden chains. They materialize from thin air, ready to bind her prey. The chains find their mark with brutal, unforgiving efficiency. She declares she will extract the divine authority from him. By pushing his body and soul past their absolute limits, she will shatter him with the pain of endless death. She sounds like a delightful host. He's trapped, forced to be her unwilling test subject. But he roars in defiance, refusing to break for her. He summons his own power, refusing to play her twisted game. A massive arc of golden light meets his desperate charge. Their blades clash in a storm of red and gold fury. She scoffs at his efforts, calling his defiance pathetic. He brings his sword down for another desperate strike, but she simply summons more chains, demanding his submission. He's caught once more, completely immobilized by her power. He struggles against the magical bonds, cursing his fate. The heavenly mentor just smiles, clearly enjoying the show. A massive blade of golden light descends upon him. The heavenly mentor's face is a mask of pure, fanatical joy. The divine weapon comes crashing down without mercy. Yoshido can only watch, a single tear marking his despair. A single word confirms the brutal outcome of the attack. His eyes are wide with the shock of his own end. The system announces another game over. He's really racking these up. He respawns, the phantom pain a fresh, agonizing memory. He collapses, the mental toll of endless death setting in. But the mentor declares there will be no escape for him. The golden chains find their mark once more, binding him completely. She yanks him through the air, a puppet in her cruel game. He struggles, his defiance meeting her overwhelming power. She forms a new blade of pure golden energy. The attack finds its mark, another fatal blow delivered. He screams, cursing the power that brings him back to this hell. She tells him to beg for his suffering to end, to wish for his own unique skill to be taken away. He falls to the ground, his body broken once more. She believes only when his spirit shatters can she claim his power. The blue-haired challenger watches, her expression hardening. She stands before the massive guardian, her resolve set. She can't stand by and watch him die again. She grits her teeth, her patience finally gone. A furious scream echoes through the chamber. She's had enough. She summons her own power, her staff crackling with energy. Her eyes glow, vowing this cycle of death will end now. She unleashes a massive torrent of blue magical power. The energy forms into massive serpents, rushing the throne. But the guardian blocks it, stating its only concern is the divine authority. The heavenly mentor scoffs at the challenger's defiance. She declares that a mere accessory could never hope to harm her, but her smug expression quickly shatters into disbelief. The guardian's massive hand begins to crack and crumble. She's forced to admit this girl is more than she seems. The blue-haired challenger's eyes burn with a new resolve. It's Mana, vowing she will never be a burden to Yoshito again. She turns her back, ready to unleash her full, unrestrained power. Her hands tighten around her new, powerful weapon. A storm of star-shaped energy fills the entire chamber. She declares she will shatter any threat to her friend. Her power surges, a promise forged in their past battles. A massive wave of blue energy rushes towards the throne. The mentor admits this is becoming a bit troublesome. The Guardian's shields move to intercept the magical assault. They form a defensive wall against the barrage of blue light. But Mana unleashes an even greater blast of pure energy. The attack slams into the golden defenses with immense force. Her blue magic clashes with the Guardian's divine light. The mentor flinches, caught in the powerful backlash. Mana's attack completely engulfs the Guardian's shields. Kogura watches the incredible display, his expression unreadable. The Guardian acknowledges her defiant spirit, but declares that her fighting spirit is an eyesore. Someone's a critic. It unleashes a devastating counterattack of golden light. Mana struggles to her feet, the assault overwhelming her. She can only look up as divine judgment descends upon her. But a new power erupts, a promise of blazing heat. A massive wall of fire intercepts the golden beams. Kogura steps in, telling Mana she doesn't have to fight alone. He admits he shares her desire to protect Yoshido. He tells her with a grin to rely on her allies more. Mana accepts his words, her resolve renewed. But the Guardian's shadow falls over them, a grim reminder. It calls their distraction foolish as its hand descends. But a new voice cuts in, tired of being ignored. The blonde girl's eyes flash with annoyance. Her attack binds the massive hand in a web of energy. The Guardian's arm shatters under the force of her assault. She taunts the mentor for only focusing on Yoshito. She declares that with the three of them united, they have more than enough power to take her down. The heavenly mentor is surrounded by a ring of divine light. She offers a small, condescending smile at their bravado, an expression that quickly twists into a manic, unhinged laugh. The team can only stare, unnerved by her sudden shift. She offers a mock apology for her outburst. She admits she shouldn't have given them false hope, and declares that they exist on entirely different levels. She decides it's time to borrow a certain power. The divine authority she's been trying to steal, a brilliant golden light fills the entire chamber. The blonde girl watches in horror as the guardian's hand reforms. Its shattered form regenerates with a sickly green glow. She's using the stolen power to grant it perfect healing. The mentor floats above them, commanding them to despair. She declares this is the true difference between them, an overwhelming gap in power they can never hope to cross. Basically, she's cheating. But Yoshido rises, analyzing her so-called ultimate power. His friends call out his name, relieved to see him standing. Yoshido's eyes burn red. He declares it's time to truly blossom. Mana cheers him on, her faith in him absolute. The heavenly mentor is confused. She's already killed him 3 times. She wonders why he shows no signs of weakness from the penalties. She speculates that he's just been lucky with his stat losses. She's about to learn how wrong she is. Yoshito just smirks, asking what she's mumbling about. He explains that for him, the death penalty is a gift. It makes him stronger every time, and she's the perfect partner for it. Their powers clash, his newfound strength meeting her divine light. The mentor can only call his power incomprehensible. He leaps back, dodging a golden arc of energy. The guardian's hand moves in again as she tries to understand his body. But Yoshido's own analysis has already begun. He unleashes a flurry of strikes against the massive hand. He slides back, creating distance for his next move. He gathers his power, a single finger glowing with red energy. A massive magical circle envelops the guardian. He moves within the field, his blade crackling with power. A strange light scans his body, but he's not concerned. He knows that even if she learns about inversion, it's already too late. He plants his feet, ready for the final charge. He rushes forward, vowing to end this in a single strike. The guardian's hands gather a new, powerful energy. The mentor orders him to stay down until her analysis is done. She calls him annoying, summoning a new golden assault. But a massive blast of blue energy slams into the guardian. Mana stands firm, her expression one of pure determination. The heavenly mentor's gaze shifts, her anger now on a new target. She calls them all lower beings and unleashes her full fury. Mana braces herself against the storm of divine judgment. Mana is caught completely off guard by the divine assault. But Yuri dives in, pulling her from the path of destruction. She even finds time for a compliment in the middle of a boss fight. Mana can only stare, stunned by the sudden, daring rescue. The two of them look up at their seemingly untouchable foe. Yuri calls out for backup, her own power not enough for this. Kagura answers with a confident, fiery grin. He charges forward, his blade a raging inferno. The Dominator King unleashes a massive wave of pure destruction. His flames meet the divine light in a blinding explosion. The heavenly mentor roars, demanding their immediate submission. But Yoshido lands a direct hit, his blade finding its mark. She explains that such a weak attack is useless against her power. Mana knows they have to end this before she can heal again. The mentor summons her golden chains once more. But Yoshido dodges, vowing not to be caught this time. He's a fast learner. He gathers all his power for one final, decisive blow. The mentor braces herself, sensing the immense energy. He unleashes his ultimate attack, Chain Gloom. The blast of pure energy engulfs the heavenly mentor. Her face is caught in the light, the attack landing true. Yoshito lands, the dust settling from his powerful strike. He watches, hoping his attack was finally enough. The mentor stands in the smoke, seemingly defeated. But a system window confirms her analysis is complete. That's not good. Yoshido's face pales. She's figured out his secret skill. The mentor laughs as her body regenerates completely. She casually retakes her throne, not a scratch on her. Her expression twists into a mask of pure, unholy rage. She calls him a fool, preparing to unleash a new power. She reveals her new plan, a powerful regeneration buff. Yoshito realizes his skill will turn that healing into pure damage. The mentor promises him an eternity of high-speed death. The reversed healing tears his body apart from the inside. Her goal is to shatter his body and mind completely. He can only endure the overwhelming, constant agony. The system announces another death. He's building quite a collection. He respawns, the phantom pain already a fresh memory. He collapses, the reversed buff still coursing through him. He curses her for finding the perfect counter to his power. The light that once healed now brings only destruction. He grits his teeth, fighting against his own body's decay. As long as the light remains, he's trapped in this loop. The system confirms his death, activating his revival skill. He wonders if the buff will vanish when he comes back. The resurrection process begins, his mind racing for a solution. He steels himself, ready to test his theory upon revival. He's back on his feet, charging the Guardian once more. He realizes with relief that the buff's light is gone. He tells himself not to worry, a moment of false hope. His eyes narrow, searching for any possible weakness. But the mentor just smiles, calling it her divine blessing. She casts the spell again, trapping him in a circle of light. She vows her blessing will find him no matter how many times he dies. Yoshido looks up, his hope shattering into a million pieces. The reversed healing tears through him once more. His body is torn apart, his friends watching helplessly. The mentor gloats that his respawn point doesn't matter. She declares her god will never abandon him. How thoughtful. Yoshido can only grit his teeth, trapped in her perfect hell. He grits his teeth, enduring the unimaginable agony. His body is torn apart from the inside out. The system announces his death, but his defiance remains. He respawns, his eyes burning with pure, undiluted rage. He refuses to give her the satisfaction of breaking him. But the cycle begins anew. Another death sentence delivered. This is getting old fast. He stands against the light, a silent act of rebellion. His friends can only watch in absolute, helpless horror. Even the Dominator King is shaken by this brutal display. Yoshido's body lies broken, his mind trapped in the loop. The mentor gloats, calling this agonizing end a blessing. She believes his suffering is a beautiful sight to behold. Yoshido struggles to his knees, questioning her twisted words. He's trapped in the golden light of her so-called blessing. He calls out her fake, hypocritical power. The heavenly mentor's smug expression never wavers. His rage finally boils over into a terrifying scream. He collapses once more, leaving Mana to watch over his fall. She calls out his name, her voice trembling with grief. A single tear falls, a symbol of her helplessness. She clutches her head, unable to bear the sight any longer, but her grief transforms into a burning new resolve. The heavenly mentor looks down, unimpressed by the display. She sends her winged assassins to silence the interruption. Mana looks up, her fear replaced by determination. But the assassins are suddenly cut down by an unseen force. Yuri leaps in, landing a powerful kick against the Guardian. Kogura stomps the ground, unleashing his own fiery power. His eyes burn with the same resolve as the others. The Dominator King joins the fight, a comet of pure flame. Yuri and Mana can only watch, their own fight momentarily forgotten. The heavenly mentor demands to know why they're still struggling. She declares they have no chance, but Kogura says that doesn't matter. He stands alone against a new swarm of winged assassins. The Dominator King is wreathed in a storm of his own making. He decides that protecting a friend is reason enough to fight. His blade slams down, unleashing a massive wave of fire. His eyes burn with resolve as he meets the divine light head-on. But even his power is sent reeling by the mentor's assault. The massive guardian looms over the battlefield, a silent sentinel. Kogura unleashes another, even greater torrent of flame. The attack completely engulfs the guardian in a raging inferno. He stands in the aftermath, his silhouette a promise of defiance. But the guardian's hand emerges from the smoke without a scratch. Well, that's discouraging. Kogura's eyes widen in complete and utter disbelief. The guardian's voice mocks his futile efforts. Kogura grits his teeth, realizing he was wrong about his own strength. He charges forward again, his blade a comet of pure fire. He unleashes another devastating strike against the massive hand. He believes this attack should at least leave a mark. He roars, demanding she finally understand their pain. He looks on as the smoke clears, his hope fading fast. The mentor explains that thanks to her divine blessing, the guardian is now completely immortal. She seems nice. Kogura grits his teeth, a cold sweat on his brow. He looks down, the weight of his own powerlessness crashing in. His eye reflects a desperate final resolve. He meets the guardian's next attack with everything he has left. He cries out, the overwhelming power shattering his defense. The impact sends him flying as his friends scream his name. The heavenly mentor's gaze is one of absolute victory. She declares it's time to extract his power of infinite resurrection. But the blonde challenger has other plans, vowing to end them all. She and Yuri fight desperately against the winged assassins. The holy warriors descend, a storm of white and gold. From the ground, Yoshido can only watch his friends fight on. His eyes are empty, the cycle of death finally taking its toll. He finds himself in the void between lives, completely alone. But something shifts. This isn't despair, it's something new. He looks up at a system window he's never seen before. He can only wonder what this new message could possibly mean. The system confirms it has detected a hostile divine authority, and in response, his reversal skill is being extended. A patch in the middle of a boss fight? Nice. A single drop of sweat marks his confusion and hope. A new skill is now available, God Annihilation Interpretation. He struggles to understand the immense weight of those words. The system begins to load the new skill parameters. The upgrade is simple. He can now apply reversal to his enemies. His eyes widen, the entire battle changing in an instant. His body is torn apart once more by the golden light. The mentor gloats about her guardian's perfect healing, but Yoshido finally understands what he has to do. The system announces his revival and prepares for a counterattack. He returns with a terrifying grin, ready to begin. The heavenly mentor is stunned, asking what he finds so funny. She reminds him that his friends are on the verge of death. She demands he give up and offer her his divine power. But Yoshido's expression is one of pure, unyielding fury. He knows his friends are at their limit and he's losing his mind. But that madness has forged a new, terrifying resolve. He channels this madness into a new, terrifying power. His eyes glow with a cold blue light, his focus absolute. The system has granted him God Annihilation interpretation, and he deploys this new power without a moment's hesitation. He gathers the curse in his hand, ready to face the guardian. The heavenly mentor can only stare, confused by this new energy. Yoshido offers a small, knowing smile at her ignorance. She questions the strange power emanating from his body. He tells her she's about to find out the hard way. The guardian unleashes another volley of golden light. Yoshido takes the full force of the attack head-on. The system announces another death, but this one is different. He declares that he doesn't care how many times he has to die. As long as he can land this one, decisive curse. He charges forward, a man with absolutely nothing left to lose. He weaves through the storm of light, his expression manic. Another death, another step closer to his target. Business as usual. He respawns in a blur, dodging the relentless assault. His hand reaches out, the blue curse ready to be unleashed. The mentor can only curse his sheer, unending persistence. His attack lands, a massive blast of blue and purple energy. The divine light shatters under the force of his new power. He's sent flying back, the backlash of his own attack immense. The heavenly mentor's face is a mask of pure, unholy rage. Yoshido's eyes burn, his gaze locked on his true target. The ground is stained from the brutal, repeated impacts. The system confirms another death, but the curse has been set. He's back on his feet, his blade carving a path of blue light. He unleashes a final, massive beam of pure, inverted power. He doesn't care how many times he falls. He will see this through. Yuri screams a desperate warning, telling him to stay away. She's sent crashing to the ground by an unseen force, but she unleashes her own blast of golden energy in defiance. Her attack meets Yoshido's curse in a storm of light and power. The Guardian's hand descends, its focus solely on our boy. Yoshido meets the attack, his curse spreading on contact. The impact sends him flying, but the trap has been sprung. He uses the momentum to launch himself up the Guardian's arm. The heavenly mentor's expression finally cracks with alarm. His hand reaches out, ready to deliver the curse directly. Personal space is about to be violated. A single tear falls, a testament to the pain he's endured. His eyes burn with the light of his new, terrifying power. But the golden chains find their mark once more, binding him. A divine spear is summoned for yet another execution. He shatters the bonds with a surge of raw, untamed power. His gaze is fixed, his purpose absolute and unwavering. The system announces another death. This is getting predictable. The heavenly mentor screams in pure, unadulterated rage. She turns, sensing his return before he even appears. He rises from the dust, a phantom of vengeance. He looks up, his sorrow fueling an unbreakable will. Kogura can only watch from below, his own fight forgotten. Yoshido collapses, the endless cycle finally taking its toll. The mentor grits her teeth, her patience completely gone. Her frustration twists into a manic, unhinged grin. She gathers a new power, a final, desperate measure. The system confirms another death. He's really going for a high score. She unleashes her full fury, her sanity long gone, and another death screen for the collection. The chamber is filled with a storm of divine judgment. The system announces another death, and another, a montage of his own demise. The heavenly mentor's eyes are wide with confusion. She looks at the empty crater where he should be. She scans the chamber, demanding to know where he's gone. But Yoshido's voice cuts through the chaos, taunting her. He leaps from the shadows, wreathed in a new blue energy. He declares this is payback for her so-called blessing, and he's about to return the favor with interest. The two of them meet in a clash of pure, unadulterated rage. He unleashes the full force of his new, inverted power. His hand finds its mark, pressing the curse into her body. He holds nothing back, his focus absolute. He lands directly on the Guardian, a perfect delivery system. The heavenly mentor's face is a mask of pure, utter shock. Her body begins to crack, torn apart by his inverted curse. The strange, colorful energy tears through her divine form. Her eyes are wide with a pain she's never known. She can only scream as her own power turns against her. His friends can only watch, stunned by this impossible turn of events. Even Kogura is speechless, his faith completely shaken. He looks down at his own hand, a sense of dread growing. The Guardian's form shatters, its immortality nullified. Kogura realizes this attack is destroying her divine authority, but the mentor just smiles, declaring it can't harm her. She insists that such a thing is simply impossible. Famous last words. Her entire throne room erupts in a storm of golden light. She can only call out to her god as her world shatters. She reaches out a hand, her power fading into the light, and her very form crumbles into nothingness. Her final words are a desperate plea to her god. She's dragged down into the ruins of her own throne. Yoshido watches as the divine light consumes her. Her face cracks and crumbles, her power undone. She reaches out to him, begging for the help she denied him. My, how the tables have turned. But he explains her salvation has been reversed. The more she reaches, the more pain she will find. Her face is a mask of agony as his curse takes hold. She finally collapses, her divine form shattered. She lies broken amidst the wreckage of her guardian. Yoshido stands over her, the battle finally won. His eyes are cold, the weight of his victory settling in. He turns his attention to a new system notification. It confirms the boss of the Zeus Tower has been defeated. His battle focus shatters, replaced by concern for his friends. He sees them all safe, calling out their names in relief. Kogura confirms he's sore but otherwise in one piece. Yuri explains the other monsters vanished with the boss. She offers a bright, grateful smile for their rescue. Mana approaches, asking if he's truly okay. Her hands are clasped, her worry clear on her face. She reminds him of the countless times he fell. Yoshido admits that he's reached his absolute limit, but it was precisely because he died so many times that he was able to win. A victory he seems content with. Kogura sits nearby, his expression thoughtful. He asks about the strange power of that final blow. Yoshido admits he doesn't fully understand it himself. He recalls the endless cycle of death fueling his rage, and the new skill that was born from his madness. He realizes his skills still hold hidden, untapped potential. Kogura smiles, admitting the kid might even surpass him one day. But Yoshido dismisses the praise, saying it was just a good matchup. He insists he's in a completely different league from the Dominator King. Kogura tells him not to be so sure about that. He reminds Yoshido of everything he's accomplished in this raid. He fought on the front lines and conquered the Zeus Tower itself. The king tells him that's more than enough to be proud of, and bestows upon him a new title, the Great Conqueror. Yoshido can only stare, the weight of the name sinking in. A system window announces the tower's collapse is imminent. Time to go. Mana tells him the title of Great Conqueror fits him perfectly. He looks to her, still struggling to believe it himself. Yuri tells him to own it with confidence. Kogura looks on, a silent, proud agreement on his face. Mana beams, telling him just how cool he was back there. Yoshido is overwhelmed by their praise, but clearly moved. He finally offers a bright, genuine smile and a word of thanks. But the victory came at a cost for some. Ryudo lies in a coma, a casualty of the brutal conquest. And as the operation comes to a close, a new threat emerges. A system alert confirms the disappearance of a regional administrator, and the towers under her control have begun to reform. Well, that's not good. The system highlights the ominous reformation in red. Back in the city, Yoshido looks up at a new, massive structure. He admits his new title still doesn't feel quite real. Nearby, two civilians marvel at the sight of the towers. But one of them points out something new has appeared. Yoshido's head whips around, sensing the change. A new, sinister tower now looms over the city skyline. The city skyline is now dominated by these crimson spires. A new, dangerous era of conquest has begun. 2 months have passed since the fall of the Zeus Tower. The Bureau's official report confirms the hard-won victory. But the moment the Great Tower vanished, every other tower in the city changed in an instant. They became these new, ominous crimson structures. Elsewhere, a young woman runs for her life through the city. Her eyes dart around, her pursuers closing in fast. She weaves through the crowds, desperate to escape. She ducks into a deserted side street, hoping to lose them. She spots a fenced-off area, a potential hiding spot. She thinks it's just an old construction site, but a dawning horror spreads across her face. She overhears her pursuers coordinating to cut off her escape. Her feet glow with a faint magical energy. She's run right into the ruins of a magic tower. Bad move. Her pursuers mock her, asking if she really thought she could escape. 3 challengers corner her, their intentions painfully clear. She turns, demanding to know why they're still chasing her. The leader says this could have all been avoided. She argues that she found the weapon, so it's rightfully hers. She can't believe they'd chase her outside the tower for it. She calls their actions utterly disgusting. But the leader just scoffs, saying she doesn't understand. He lectures her, calling her a rookie conqueror. He explains that in the tower, might makes right. And the same rules apply in these magically infused ruins. His face twists into a manic grin as he powers up. He lunges forward to deliver his own brand of justice, but she manages to parry his strike with her own blade. The leader's eyes widen. He recognizes the unique weapon. It's the emblem sword, a legendary blade from the tower. His two cronies move in, ready to overwhelm her. She tries to fend them off, but she's clearly outmatched. They knock her to the ground, demanding she surrender the prize. The thugs are already discussing how much they can sell it for. She cries out, refusing to let them take it. She explains it was her first real partner in the tower. But the leader just scoffs at her sentimentality. He gets in her face, his patience wearing thin. He snatches the sword and dares her to try and take it back. But a new figure has been watching from the sidelines. One of the thugs tells the newcomer to get lost. The stranger grabs his arm, his grip like iron, and slams the man into the ground without a word. Well, that was efficient. The thug is out cold, clearly not wanting any more of this. The newcomer offers a trade, the girl's sword for the thug's. The leader's face darkens with pure, unadulterated rage. He screams in defiance and charges forward, but the stranger stands his ground, completely unimpressed. He lets out a sigh, as if this is all just a minor chore. He effortlessly dodges the wild overhead swing. His eye glows red. He's had enough of this game. The young woman can only stare in absolute shock. The leader freezes, a look of dawning horror on his face. He recognizes the blade as the reward from the Zeus Tower, which means he's just picked a fight with the new great conqueror. He says the name aloud, Takemichi Yoshito. Yoshito admits he's gotten famous, then asks if he still wants to fight. A dangerous smile spreads across Yoshito's face. The young woman and the other thug can only stare in shock. The leader's bravado shatters into pure, undiluted fear. His crony screams for him not to rush in. The leader believes that even a conqueror is still human. He thinks he can land a surprise attack, a truly terrible plan. But Yoshito blocks the strike without even looking. The thug's face is a mask of dawning horror. Yoshito grabs the man's blade with his bare hand and shatters it with a single, effortless squeeze. The resulting shockwave sends the man flying. The girl's emblem sword is tossed into the air. Yoshito catches it, his expression calm and collected. The other thug is left trembling amidst the rubble. Yoshito apologizes, admitting he wasn't holding back enough. The remaining thugs flee, leaving their friend behind. Yoshito tells the girl to take the unconscious man with her. What a thoughtful gift. She offers a bright, grateful smile for his help. He asks if she's a rookie, a knowing look on his face. He warns her to be more careful in the future. She looks at him intently, and he asks what's wrong. She lowers her sunglasses, a sly grin on her face. She recognizes him as the heavenly conqueror, Takemichi Yoshito. He tries to play it off, saying he's not that famous. She reminds him he was all over the news after the Zeus raid. Yoshito looks away, the memory still fresh. 2 months ago, the towers all transformed into these crimson spires. The management bureau was forced to seal them all off. It was a desperate move to calm the public's growing fear. Back in the present, a woman at the bureau says something is ready. A bureau agent gets some shocking news over the phone. It seems Yoshito's press conference was a bit of a disaster. Back in the ruins, the girl he saved says she was looking for someone. She gets uncomfortably close, leaving our boy completely flustered. She wants him to help her, a beginner, conquer a tower. She admits she's not a strong fighter and needs his help. She grabs his leg, her desperation clear. Personal space is not her strong suit. Without waiting for an answer, she grabs his hand and takes off. Yoshito is dragged along, protesting this sudden turn of events. He finally manages to stop them, needing a moment to process. She looks back, asking if his hesitation is a refusal. He's clearly flustered, unable to form a coherent thought. He reluctantly agrees, feeling like he has no other choice. The girl celebrates her victory with a triumphant cheer. The two of them now walk through the bustling city streets. Yoshito is still trying to get used to his new celebrity status. His new companion points to a massive screen, spotting a familiar face. She recognizes a popular idol on the billboard. She asks if he's a fan, a smug look on her face. She lowers her glasses, a mysterious smile playing on her lips. She points to the billboard, beginning a dramatic reveal. She strikes a pose, declaring she's the one on TV and the internet. The super popular solo idol whose fame is on the rise. She introduces herself as Aiki Konatsu. Well, that explains the confidence. She points directly at Yoshito in the middle of the plaza. Our boy is once again overwhelmed by the sudden attention. The crowd immediately recognizes her, their phones already out. but she declares that he's the one who's truly famous. The city skyline stands as a silent witness to the chaos. Aiki Konatsu's identity is confirmed, her gaze intense. Yoshido is completely flustered, wondering why a celebrity is with him. He explains his concern, recalling Ryudo's fate in the hospital. He worries she could lose her career, but Aiki sees his true motive. She turns back with a radiant smile, happy that he cares. She assures him she's well aware of the risks involved. Her eyes narrow with a fierce, unshakable determination. The scene shifts to one of the new, ominous Crimson Towers. They arrive on the 5th floor, a cold, stone-walled chamber. A winged beast, a sky serpent, immediately swoops in to attack, but Yoshido parries the assault with a single, effortless slash. The monster recoils, stunned by his casual display of power. It hovers above, preparing to strike again from the air. Yoshido's eye glows red. He dismisses the attack as far too slow. He unleashes a flurry of strikes, ending the fight in an instant. Aiki can only stare, completely amazed by his overwhelming skill. He stands over the fallen beast, explaining the basics of the lower floors. He warns her not to push ahead until she's ready for what's to come. Aiki is practically sparkling, her admiration for the great conqueror clear. Yoshito is embarrassed by the praise, but she's in full fan mode. His expression suddenly hardens as he senses a new threat. Another sky serpent dives down, its target locked on Aiki. He moves in a blur, pushing her out of the path of the attack. He tells her it's time for her official debut as a conqueror. He promises to back her up, telling her to trust her instincts. Aiki charges forward, her blade held high and ready. She lets out a fierce cry, bringing her sword down with all her might. But the monster blocks her strike with ease, its wing like a shield. She struggles to hold her ground, her blade locked with its staff. She realizes with dawning horror that this is a bad situation. The monster unleashes a volley of attacks, forcing her on the defensive. The monster glares, its patience wearing thin. But from behind her, a familiar red aura begins to flare. Yoshido's eyes glow. He's done watching from the sidelines. The monster suddenly recoils, a look of pure terror on its face. But it's too late. Aiki is sent flying by a powerful blow. The sky serpent clutches its chest, a wound appearing from nowhere. It seems her attack landed after all, just with a slight delay. Yoshido's eyes narrow, realizing what just happened. But Aiki's victory is short-lived as more monsters appear. Yoshido steps in, telling her to fall back. He declares that he'll handle the rest of this fight. He becomes a blur, cutting through the horde with ease. A lone serpent dives down, trying to break his momentum. Its staff slams into the ground, a desperate, futile strike. Yoshito leaps over the fallen beast without breaking stride. His focus is absolute, his movements a deadly dance. He ducks under another attack, the wind whipping past him. A confident smirk touches his lips. This is just a warm-up. Aiki can only watch, realizing his power is a little terrifying. He turns back to her, but she's not the only one watching. The wounded monster seems to be calling for backup. Aiki cries out a warning, her eyes wide with terror. Yoshito's own expression shifts to one of dawning horror. From the shadows, an entire platoon of sky serpents emerges. This isn't just a random encounter anymore. It's a full-blown welcoming committee. And they don't look friendly. Yoshido can only offer a nervous smile at the impossible odds. He realizes this is far more than a rookie can handle. He knows this situation is completely insane. He grabs Aiki's hand, deciding it's time for a tactical retreat. Aiki is completely stunned by this sudden turn of events. She calls out his name, her mind struggling to catch up. She wonders why he suddenly grabbed her hand. But he's already dragging her away at full speed. Aiki seems to be enjoying the adrenaline rush a little too much. Yoshido knows they're trapped in a confusing, maze-like structure. He tells her to stay calm as they navigate the corridors. He believes they can use the terrain to their advantage, but their pursuers have already cornered them. So much for that plan. He explains that a direct fight isn't always the answer. He tells her this is the true nature of survival in the tower. She takes his words to heart, a new resolve on her face. But her resolve is immediately tested by a monster's cry. He confirms they've been found and tells her to move. The two of them continue their desperate escape. They race through the stone halls, their footsteps echoing. Yoshido glances back, the pressure clearly mounting. They find themselves in a vast chamber filled with glowing crystals. Aiki wonders about the strange objects embedded in the walls. Suddenly, one of the crystals falls and shatters at their feet. The monsters have caught up, forcing him into a defensive clash. He realizes they're not just being chased. They're being herded. He vows to end this quickly before the situation gets worse. Aiki can only watch, her own inexperience a liability. But one of the monsters gets dangerously close to a crystal. The crystals suddenly unleash a volley of energy beams. This place has its own defense system. The sky serpents are caught completely off guard by the assault. The energy crackles, a sign of immense, unstable power. Yoshido realizes the fighting has destabilized the magic stones. Aiki points to one of the stones, sensing it's about to overload. One of the sky serpents unleashes a blast of pure energy. Aiki screams, realizing the attack is coming right for them. The entire chamber is filled with a storm of golden lightning. Yoshido is sent sliding back, taking the brunt of the assault. Aiki points out the obvious. The crystals are amplifying the energy. The magic stones crackle, their power growing more unstable. The light intensifies, a sign of an imminent massive overload, and the entire crystal formation erupts in a blinding flash. The chain reaction fills the room with a web of deadly energy. He realizes the monsters are using the stones as amplifiers. Yoshito can only conclude that this is the worst possible outcome. Aiki looks up in horror as the energy continues to build. The unstable magic begins to converge above the main exit. He knows they have to end this fight quickly, and somehow stop this rampaging wave of energy. No pressure. He decides they have no choice and charges forward. The sky serpents ready their staffs for another coordinated assault, but Yoshido's eyes widen as he spots a new tactic. One of the monsters is gathering the energy into a shield. It then fires the collected power back as a concentrated beam. The deadly projectile comes right for Yoshito's head. He's caught in the blast, his body engulfed in the light. The system announces his death. Business as usual. Aiki can only scream his name, reaching out in horror. But inversion confirms a debuff reversal, granting him a health boost. He's back on his feet, a new understanding dawning on him. He realizes these monsters are using their surroundings to fight. A confident smirk spreads across his face. He's almost impressed. He deflects another blast of energy with a casual swing. He looks up as the monsters prepare another volley of attacks. He weaves through the storm of golden energy. He lands, asking if that's the best they can do. But his eyes widen as he spots their new target. The crystals are now focusing their power in one spot. He realizes with horror where the attack is aimed. He screams a warning as the blast heads right for Aiki. She can only stare, completely frozen by the sudden danger. Her eyes reflect the blinding incoming light. But Yoshido leaps in, becoming a human shield. His eyes burn red. He vows she will not be harmed. Aiki can only watch, stunned by his selfless act. The full force of the blast slams into his back. The golden energy surges through his entire body. His face contorts in pure, unadulterated agony. He grits his teeth, refusing to fall. He endures the storm, his focus absolute. The pain is immense, but his will is stronger. Apparently, he's wreathed in lightning, pushed to his absolute limit. Aiki can only call out his name, her voice filled with fear. He finally collapses, the energy overwhelming him. She rushes to his side, asking if he's all right. He lies motionless in a crater, the battle seemingly over. Aiki's face is a mask of pure, helpless horror. She begs him to wake up, her voice trembling. She shakes his shoulder, pleading for him to respond. She looks up at the monster, regretting he didn't just leave her. She screams, refusing to accept this outcome. But a familiar voice tells her not to cry. He stands, declaring an idol's tears are too good for him. Smooth, real smooth. Aiki is left completely speechless by his sudden recovery. Aiki's eyes widen with a sudden dawning realization. The pieces click into place. She knows this power. She names the skill from the news. Infinite Resurrection. Yoshido casually admits this is his second death in front of her. He offers himself as a human shield, but she flatly refuses. She won't let him endure that awful feeling over and over. He explains that at level 1, she's simply too weak to help. Aiki asks if leveling up will finally change that. She wonders how many monsters she needs to defeat. Yoshido tells her it only takes 1 or 2 to level up. A confident, almost dangerous smile spreads across her face. She looks at the monster and declares that it's hers. She charges forward, her eyes glowing with a new power. Yoshito can only watch, stunned by her sudden change. She reveals she has a unique, incredibly rare skill. The sky serpents unleash another volley of attacks, but Aiki stands firm in the storm of golden light. She explains that her skill's effect is very simple. It takes all the experience and stats she gains, and multiplies them by 10. Well, that's not broken at all. Yoshido's eyes widen, processing this impossible power-up. A massive blast of energy slams into the ground. She reveals the name of her skill, Hero. The crystals in the chamber begin to resonate with her power. She stands before them, her sword glowing with golden light. Her eye reflects the energy, her focus absolute. She becomes a blur, fighting multiple opponents at once. Yoshido can only watch, a nervous sweat on his brow. She declares they can finally fight on equal footing. The remaining sky serpents roar in absolute fury. The sky serpents unleash another coordinated aerial assault. One of the beasts brings its staff down with immense force. Their weapons clash, filling the air with crackling energy. Yoshido and Aiki can only watch the chaotic display. He turns to her with a grin, asking if she can handle the speed now. Aiki's confidence is absolute. She's more than ready. They both leap aside as a massive blast shatters the floor. Yoshido weaves through the assault, his eyes glowing red. He tells her to hold them off while he ends this quickly. He leaps into the fray, his blade ready for the kill. He dodges another blast, his movements impossibly fast. He closes in on his target, ready to strike, but he's forced to a halt by the ambient energy waves. He realizes with frustration that he can't just parry them. He notices the crystal on their staffs is the source. He knows touching that energy with his sword would be a disaster. He'd just end up getting scorched all over again. Not on his to-do list. The monster stands ready, channeling the chamber's power. It spins its staff, gathering a massive amount of energy, and unleashes a devastating wave across the entire floor. But a wicked grin spreads across Yoshido's face. That would only be a problem if he used a weapon to block. He plunges his sword into one of the massive crystals. The crystal erupts, sending a beam of pure energy skyward. He stands amidst the floating shards, his new plan clear. He'll use the fragments as a shield to reflect their attacks. The shards intercept the lightning just as he predicted. He declares that their fun is officially over. And now it's their turn to get a taste of their own medicine. The monster can only scream as its own attack is turned against it. The sky serpent is hit head-on by its own reflected attack. Its staff shatters, its expression one of pure, utter shock. The beast is completely consumed by the golden explosion. Yoshido watches the dust settle, his gambit having paid off. He turns to Aiki, offering her the final decisive blow. She thanks him and leaps forward to claim her prize. She brings her sword down on the stunned, falling monster. She offers a quick apology for stealing all the experience points. Her blade finds its mark, a powerful and decisive strike. She declares that the monster's power is now hers to claim. With a final slash, she ends the sky serpent's reign. The system confirms her hero skill has activated, boosting her level. She lands, now strong enough to face the remaining monster. A confident smile spreads across her face. The tables have turned. Yoshido looks on, a bead of sweat on his brow. He finally understands her skill multiplies everything by 10. He thinks of his allies, realizing her immense potential. He believes she has what it takes to become a true hero. Aiki lets out a triumphant cheer, her power-up complete. She runs back to Yoshido, ready for the next challenge. But the chamber is still crackling with unstable energy. A massive blast of lightning strikes the floor between them. Yoshido knows this place is still far too dangerous to stay. Aiki agrees, her expression now one of grim understanding. They race through the halls, but their escape route is gone. The entrance has been completely blocked by a rockslide. So much for the easy way out. They're forced to weave through the storm of random energy. But Aiki spots a new path, calling out to get his attention. She points to a massive crystal, seeing a passage behind it. Yoshido praises her find, and she's clearly delighted. He realizes the passage isn't blocked by simple rubble. It's a massive magic stone, and he has a very simple plan. A plan that involves a whole lot of smashing. He calls out to Aiki, who is more than ready to help. The two of them charge forward in a coordinated assault. The massive crystal crackles with unstable energy. Their combined power begins to overload the stone. They brace themselves for the inevitable explosion. The magic stone erupts, clearing the path ahead. They land safely on the other side of the blast. Yoshido calls out to his new partner, the hero. Aiki seems less than thrilled with her new title. But there's no time to argue. The fight isn't over. They dive through the opening, escaping the chaos. Yoshido looks at the crystal shards with a confident grin. Aiki seems to understand his plan perfectly. They land in the new passage, the danger behind them. But the explosion triggers a massive cave-in. The ceiling collapses, sealing their escape route. Aiki can only watch in horror as their path vanishes. Yoshido sighs, realizing they're trapped once more. She realizes they're being pushed deeper into the tower. She turns to Yoshido, sensing his sudden unease. He looks ahead, a grim understanding on his face. He recognizes this place, a place he never wanted to see. A vast, spiraling chamber stretches out before them. Aiki can only wonder where they've ended up now. He explains he was supposed to be in a different tower. This was meant to be a simple training run for her. But now he's about to face some very strong opponents. He recalls a report of a party that was completely wiped out. Now he and Aiki stand before that very same threat. Yoshido's eyes widen with a dawning, terrible recognition. A massive impact shatters the ground just feet away from them. He knows this monster is far stronger than any mid-boss. It's an irregular, a beast in a league of its own. And he knows exactly why he's here. The massive beast, Evil Horn, lets out a deafening roar. Yoshido's eyes burn red. He came here to take it down. The scene shifts, taking us back one day to the bureau. Rito sits at her desk, buried under a mountain of paperwork. A truly terrifying sight. The door to her office slides open. She looks up, her expression as deadpan as ever. She calmly states that she's been waiting for him. Yoshido enters, his guard immediately up. He nervously scans the room, expecting an ambush. He explains that ever since the Zeus raid, he's been hounded by the press, a fate worse than death. He's convinced the Bureau is working him to the bone. He even imagines goons waiting to drag him to another interview. Rito assures him they don't have staff for that. She insists it's all voluntary, and Yoshido is not buying it for a second. She explains his celebrity status has been a useful distraction. It's kept the public from panicking about the new red towers. She stumbles over her words, and he knows he's caught her in a lie. Yoshido finally cuts to the chase, asking why he was summoned. Rito's expression turns serious, the pleasantries over. She asks him about the magic sky tower known as Thor. He vaguely recalls seeing something about it on his way in. He remembers it's the tower where a mid-boss was recently defeated. Rito confirms that in the Thor tower, a new discovery has been made. A massive, open atrium has been found, spanning multiple floors. Yoshido is confused, not understanding the term. She explains they believe they've found the master of this new area. Yoshido is shocked, realizing the dangerous implications. He knows that in the towers, higher floors mean stronger monsters. A diagram shows how this new space pierces through several levels. He asks what that means for the monster's power level. Rito looks over her reports, ready to deliver the bad news. She says the beast is on par with a top-floor monster, maybe even a final boss. And with that, she officially asks Yoshido to subjugate it. No rest for the famous, I guess. She calls the target a highly irregular being. Her eyes glow as she explains the backup plan. If he fails, the monster will be designated a certified threat. The words send a chill down his spine, the weight of the mission clear. He knows this is a creature that could endanger all other conquerors. He clenches his fist, his resolve hardening. He looks up and accepts the job without hesitation. Rito offers a simple, quiet word of thanks. She explains the atrium will require intense vertical movement. She slides a piece of unique equipment across her desk and tells him to use it for the upcoming battle. Yoshido recognizes the item, surprised to be seeing it again. He offers a confident smile, gladly accepting the borrowed gear. Back in the present, the massive beast lets out a deafening roar. It leaps forward, its powerful form crashing towards them. The impact shatters the stone floor in a massive shockwave. Aiki is terrified, but Yoshido stands his ground, unfazed. The winged monster hovers above them, a terrifying silhouette. Aiki asks what they should do, but Yoshido's expression is already set. Yoshido's expression hardens. It's time for this new toy's debut. He's counting on the unique reward from the Proteus Tower. He activates the Apiron Mikani, a powerful bracelet. Aiki can only stare, wondering what kind of accessory it is. Yoshido smirks, knowing this is no ordinary piece of gear. It can fire a grappling arm from another dimension. Talk about a handy gadget. A weapon with incredible range and surprising power. The spear-like projectile flies true, closing the distance. It finds its mark, embedding itself in the beast's hide. He's pulled into the air, now using the very weapon he once faced. His eyes glow red. The real aerial battle is about to begin. He carves a crimson arc across the monster's side as he flies past. The beast roars in pain, its fury now fully ignited. Yoshido uses the wire to swing through the massive chamber. He lands, admitting the hit was solid, but the fight is far from over. The monster charges forward, its eyes burning with rage. It suddenly takes to the air, changing its tactics completely. The beast hovers above, preparing a devastating dive attack. Its wings glow with a sinister purple energy. Yoshido looks up, a bead of sweat on his brow. This is really, really bad. He knows he needs to find cover, and he needs to find it now. The monster unleashes a storm of deadly energy projectiles. The attack slams into the wall, a shower of purple sparks. He dodges and weaves, trying to survive the onslaught. But one of the blasts grazes his arm, a searing line of pain. He's being completely overwhelmed by the relentless barrage. He uses the wire to swing to safety in a desperate escape. He lands just as another blast shatters the ground beside him. He falls to his knees, cursing the monster's endless rampage. He grits his teeth, his frustration boiling over. Yoshido stands alone against the winged beast. He can only curse as the reality of its power sets in. He's caught in a storm of purple energy, unable to escape, and the system calmly announces another game over. The penalty is applied, a permanent debuff to his attack. But inversion turns that loss into another welcome power-up. He's back on his feet, acknowledging the monster's strength, but he declares this is the end and prepares to strike. The wounded beast roars, its fury now fully ignited. Yoshido grabs onto its hide, refusing to let go. He's dragged along for a very unpleasant ride. The monster takes to the air, soaring towards the ceiling. He grits his teeth, wondering just how high they're going. The ceiling of the massive atrium looms far above them. The beast suddenly dives, plummeting back to the ground. Yoshido refuses to let this fight end in a crash landing. He unleashes a flurry of strikes as they fall through the air. He vows to end this before they hit the unforgiving stone below. The beast's eye glows, preparing a desperate counter. It lands a solid blow, knocking him from his perch. He's sent flying, cursing his sudden change in altitude. He screams, caught in the monster's downward momentum. His eyes narrow, his focus absolute even in freefall. He grits his teeth, refusing to accept this outcome. The monster slams him into the ground with brutal force. A massive pillar of red energy marks the devastating impact. He's left broken in a crater, his charge ending in failure. His fingers scrape against the stone, his consciousness fading. The beast lets out a triumphant roar over its fallen foe. But Aiki watches on, deciding a hero can't just stand by. She holds her emblem sword, ready to join the fight. Aiki unleashes its power, her eyes glowing with golden light. She thinks about how hard Yoshido has been fighting, and decides that just watching isn't what a hero does. The massive beast looms over Yoshido's fallen form. Aiki's expression hardens into one of pure resolve. She reminds herself that he has infinite resurrection. She knows he could probably defeat this monster on his own, but even so, she's determined to help him. This, she realizes, is what it truly means to be a hero. The beast lets out a furious, deafening roar. It leaps forward, ready to crush its new opponent. But Aiki stands her ground, her eyes burning with power. She unleashes a massive wave of golden, star-shaped energy. The monster seems surprised by her sudden burst of power. The attack slams into its side with devastating force. But Aiki's eyes widen. The beast managed to dodge the worst of it. It lands on the ground, seemingly unfazed by the assault. The monster roars, preparing a powerful counterattack. Aiki readies her blade, vowing to try again. Her expression is one of pure, unyielding determination. She unleashes another volley of golden projectiles. The beast's wings begin to glow with a sinister purple energy. It unleashes its own blast of pure, dark power. Yoshido is caught in the blast, his body torn apart once more. Aiki knows she has to evade the incoming attack, but she realizes with horror that there's nowhere to run. The beast's wing deflects an unseen projectile. A familiar grappling wire has latched onto its horn. Yoshido is back, casually mentioning he's been alive for a while. He tells the beast to look over here. His eyes burn with rage. He's done playing games. The monster's attack misses, exploding against the wall. Yoshido swings in, his blade ready for a counter. He lands a direct, powerful strike to its head. The beast roars, more in fury than in pain. He grits his teeth, holding on for the wild ride. He unleashes a storm of slashes from its back. A powerful kick connects with the monster's face. He follows up with a devastating downward blow. He calls out to Aiki, telling her it's her chance. She thanks him, her own weapon already glowing. Her eyes burn with resolve. She won't miss this shot. She unleashes a massive arc of pure golden energy. The beast can only roar as the attack closes in. The blast shatters one of its massive horns. Aiki lands, watching the dust settle from her attack. She asks if it's over, but Yoshido knows better. The monster's eyes glow. It's far from finished. It looms over them, its presence more menacing than ever. The beast charges forward, a blur of purple fury. The ground shatters from the force of its impact. Yoshido lands, preparing for the next phase of the fight. The monster glares, its focus now entirely on him. The wound on its side only seems to fuel its rage. Yoshido leaps onto its back, ready to press the attack. Aiki cries out a warning as it prepares to take flight. He knows if it gets too high, the fight is over. But Aiki suddenly grabs his hand, stopping him. Not the time, but okay. A confident smile spreads across her face. She has an idea. She tells him to wait before the monster can fly. The beast charges forward, its eyes glowing with fury. She uses her newfound strength to launch them both into the air. She vows to hang on, weighing the monster down. Talk about a dynamic duo. The beast unleashes a storm of energy, trying to shake them off. It flies wildly around the chamber, a whirlwind of destruction. Aiki grits her teeth, admitting this is a rough ride. Yoshido knows the monster is on a complete rampage. It soars towards the ceiling, aiming for a massive structure. The beast crashes headfirst into the stone, a desperate gambit. But Yoshido is already falling, his grappling wire ready. He catches Aiki mid-air, a perfectly timed rescue. She offers a flustered but grateful word of thanks. He sets her down, telling her to wait for his signal. He turns his attention back to the stunned beast. He declares he's pinning it to the wall right here and now. He uses its own wing as a launch pad for his assault. A beam of red energy erupts from his blade. The monster roars as the attack finds its mark. He unleashes another blast, pinning it against the wall. He uses his wire to create a web of pure energy. The beast is trapped, completely immobilized by his attack. He leaps in for the final blow, declaring the fight is over. His blade finds its mark, a decisive end to the battle. Aiki rushes to his side, asking if he's all right. Yoshido confirms he's fine, the danger finally passed. He offers a tired but triumphant smile. Conquest complete. Light shines through a massive window, a sign of their victory. But outside the tower, something strange begins to happen. The window glows with an ominous, unknown light. Elsewhere in a dark chamber, a new monster waits. A strange energy gathers within its very core. Its eyes snap open, glowing with a malevolent light. It roars, unleashing a wave of untamed, chaotic power. Back at the bureau, the mission debrief is underway. Yoshido confirms the successful subjugation of the atrium monster. Rito offers a rare, genuine word of thanks for his efforts. Her professional demeanor remains, but the relief is clear. She promises to transfer his reward money once the area is secured. Another day, another massive paycheck. Yoshido is already overwhelmed by the thought of his growing fortune, but Rito's attention shifts to his unexpected partner. Aiki Konatsu makes her official, cheerful entrance. She explains she became a raider just for a chance to meet Rito, and she's thrilled her plan worked out so quickly. Rito seems less than thrilled by this turn of events. Yoshido is stunned, realizing the two of them already know each other. Aiki confirms it with an enthusiastic hug. Rito does not look amused. She casually mentions her day job as a famous idol, and explains that she and Rito have become very close. Rito's face says otherwise. Yoshido asks the important question. If the director knew about her skill, Aiki confirms Rito was the very first person she ever told. Rito's expression is unreadable, lost in thought. She remembers the day Aiki revealed her immense potential. Yoshito admits her skill could make her a great conqueror. Rito explains she advised against it, fearing for Aiki's safety. But Aiki reminds her of a promise she once made. She believes that great power comes with a great responsibility. A responsibility to be a symbol of hope. A true hero. She says that even though the immediate threat is gone, it's her duty to show everyone what a hero can do. She declares that with a hero present, everything will be fine. Yoshido can only look on, her words echoing in his mind. Rito finally relents, accepting Aiki's unshakable resolve. A notification arrives, signaling the end of the debrief. She confirms the Thor Tower atrium is now completely secure. Aiki is shocked to learn Yoshito requested they split the reward. He recalls finding a hidden path during the mission, a path that led to a new transfer gate to the top floor. Rito sees this as an opportunity to take down the tower's final boss, but she insists Aiki is too inexperienced for such a dangerous fight. Yoshido agrees, knowing a solo boss raid is far too reckless. But his decision is suddenly and loudly interrupted. Yuri and Mana arrive, calling his hesitation a waste. Looks like the old party is back. Yuri declares that if there's a boss to fight, they're going for it. Yoshito is stunned by their sudden, unexpected appearance. Mana explains they've been working with the Bureau as well. But Aiki quickly grabs his attention, not to be ignored. She demands to be introduced to his other friends. Mana's cheerful demeanor shifts, a strange energy building around her. She gets uncomfortably close, noting his new partnership. Her eyes glow with a dangerous, possessive light. Yoshido tries to create some distance between them all. Aiki misreads the situation as Mana's aura darkens. This is getting complicated. Mana's jealousy finally boils over into tears. She summons her staff, her magic crackling with raw emotion, and unleashes a massive blast of water right in the office. The attack slams into the side of the Bureau headquarters. Rito is left completely soaked and unimpressed by the outburst. Sometime later, the newly formed party arrives at the Thor Tower. They stand before the massive doors of the 40th floor. Yuri declares that with their combined strength, this boss should be an easy win. Yoshito and Mana seem less than convinced by her bravado, but Yuri insists this will be good experience for them all. With the decision made, Yoshito prepares to open the massive doors. He declares it's time to show the boss what they can do.